Come to Sam Ash for hundreds of exclusive holiday deals on music and sound gear from the most iconic brands. Save big on professional and starter guitars, drums, digital pianos, horns, violins, DJ, and electronic production equipment. Supercharge your home studio with deals on podcasting, streaming, and AV equipment like speakers, microphones, headphones, and acoustic treatment. Plus, with 36 months no-interest financing on thousands of items, you can get the gear of your dreams right now. From our incredible selection and service to our lowest price guarantee for over 95 years, real musicians know you only go to Sam Ash.
Power bill through the roof? At 320 Solar, that power bill will be no more. In fact, about 90% of our customers report lower solar payments than with electricity. That's more power in your pocket. 320 Solar. Power up.
Just because I let it slide doesn't mean it isn't pulling on my heart until it's almost white. 'Cause I wanna let you feel strong.
Evolution. Sports Talk Television live here nightly. All Bucs report. It's the Sports Lab. I'm your host, Jimmy Wood, giving you something to think about on tonight's show. Bring your passion, bring your excitement, just don't bring any nonsense. Will you shut up and be quiet? Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another edition of the Evolution of Sports Talk Television here on Friday night. Did you have a good Thanksgiving? Did you eat enough turkey?
Did you eat enough stuffing? Are you stuffed? Are you done with turkey? Are you done with Thanksgiving? I hope you're definitely not done with the Sports Web, the evolution of sports talk television, live here on Bucs Report. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. And as we always start off the Sports Web, how do we do it? Write the 3 things down. There's a quiz afterwards. Bring your passion. Bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. On tonight's show, we'll have the legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty, former coach, scout, and now media member of Knights Sports Productions, At 9:30, we will have Evan Winter of Bucs Nation on. And then at 10 o'clock, I heard that we're going to have our long-lost brother from another mother, Mr. Nitro, Nick Citro. And then, of course, your phone call, 727-255-0391 and 727-255-0391. We are only a couple days away from the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We'll be live at the Deck Bar and Grill in Isla del Sol, getting you ready for that matchup, your pre-half and post-game edition. So if you're a Bucs fan, get out there. We'll get you ready for that. Starting about, game starts at 4:25, so we will start off about 2 o'clock, getting all your comments, your questions, any concerns that you have about this team going forward. So with that being said, let's go ahead and go out to the legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty here. Just stand by for a moment. I think we got him. Hold on. Okay, there he is. Mr. Leo Haggerty, the legend himself. Welcome to the Sports Web, the evolution of sports talk television. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing fine. How about you, Peter?
I'm doing great, buddy. Doing great. And, a little bit concerned, a little bit disappointing with the loss versus the LA Rams on Monday night. In fact, in prime time, 1-3, the night practices really didn't pay off. For me, the Rams, look, they're one of the top defenses in the league, but with this team, with the Bucs to struggle the way they are, can you figure this out?
Well, Peter, look at it this way. Matt Gay kicked the winning field goal. That's got to tell you that it just wasn't going to be the Bucs night. And, I think the one thing everybody seems to be missing is that Jared Goff didn't get sacked once. And, Peter, Leo's number one postulate about winning in the NFL. If the quarterback can throw it where he wants to, when he wants to, and to whom he wants to, you're getting beat.
Sure.
And that was brought out perfectly. He just carved up. The man threw it 51 times in a win. And nobody could get him down. So kudos to the Rams offensive line. And you know what? The Bucs did a pretty good job in protection, too. Grady only got sacked once. But, again, it's just too little too late. And, again, Gus Cattingill, who does New Orleans radio, texted me and says, this is playoff-level football. And I couldn't agree more.
Right.
There was never more than a score away. The score was tied 4 times all night. So it was playoff football. And, Peter, I said in the beginning of the year, 10-6 would be a good season. And, there were people at radio stations out there, they said, 12-4. I said, guys, they've had no preseason. And Bruce Arians brought this up today. He said, look, we had 400 reps we didn't get by not having OTAs, not having spring. And it's starting to show. And I'll tell you what, though, Peter, I'm looking for the Bucs to win Sunday. And everybody say, wait a second, Kansas City's coming in. When's the last time Tom Brady lost 3 in a row?
He doesn't. He doesn't usually lose 3 in a row, and that's the great thing about it. And then on top of it, Kansas City, with their defense, it's nothing to write home about. Look, they gave up 31 points versus the Raiders. With talking about that offense, is their big-time concern still with Tom Brady throwing the deep pass, 3 for his last 36 there, and it seemed like they weren't very successful in throwing the deep ball. And then on top of it, this offense seemed like they gave up on the running game inexplicably. I don't understand it, because one week you have Ronald Jones, 23 for 192, going for 98 yards, longest rush in Bucs history, and then you only have 10 to 24 against the Rams. I get it, the Rams are a tough defense, but you got to have more of a commitment to this run game going forward, right, Leo?
Oh, absolutely, Peter. And By the way, nice SAT word was inexplicably.
Yes.
I like that. That was good.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it if I could spit it out and talk. I'm still, I guess, dealing with turkey.
Peter, you hit the nail on the head. For some reason, this offense gets away from the run way too early.
Mm-hmm.
And this whole offense is based on play action.
Right.
Whether you want to admit it or not. When this offense becomes one-dimensional, and Peter, everybody said, well, he's not good on the deep ball. This is not an easy pass to throw. It's not like everybody's making a completion of 20-plus yards down the field.
Right.
It's tough to do because you need the time, you need to be able to find the guy, and you need to be able to hit him in stride. That's three things, and it's hard to get all three at once.
Well, look, he was 14 for 59. The first 7 weeks of the season, that's about 40% clip, which is unbelievable. You're leading the league with over 20-yard passes. And then after that, it basically has gone downhill. What's the reason? Is it because of Ali Marpet, your best offensive lineman, being out of that lineup? Is it the pressure that's getting to him? Or could it be the fact of Brady throwing too much and possibly we could be seeing a dead arm here, which is why even more so you have to go to the running game?
Well, Peter, I think the thing is they're not looking for the right guys down the field.
Okay.
The guys they should be looking for, and again, that last interception was a perfect example. I have nothing against Cameron Brake, but why aren't you going to your speed guys or your size guys? Why isn't Mike Evans the guy down the field? Why isn't Gronk the guy down the field that they're throwing that long ball to? Why isn't AB the guy they're going down the field to?
Right.
Scotty Miller. Guys that have speed or size. Cameron Brake, good size, average speed. You want to maximize the guys that you have. And again, I'm starting to get concerned with why Mike Evans is not that target down the field. And I don't know why this is happening, but he needs to go down the field simply because, okay, if he's covered, that means two guys are on him.
Mm-hmm.
Now you find the other stuff down low. And, Peter, they dropped 4 passes. That's just that we don't see that from Buccaneer receivers.
Right.
And again, I think Fournette dropped 3 of them, and he's pretty sure-handed. And I just you scored 24 points, you should win the game in the NFL. That's the bottom line. And, they got to get to the quarterback. They may not be able to sack Mahomes just because of his mobility. I mean, you didn't get to Jared Goff, and he's not the most mobile guy in the world.
Right.
But what the Rams do a lot of, and so does Kansas City, is they do a lot of pre-snap motions, pre-snap movement. So, again, you're going to see a lot of things there. And, Peter, I'm going to change the subject real quick.
Sure, go for it.
I don't know if you heard, but A.Q. Shipley is retired.
Yeah.
As of today.
Disappointing.
That injury. Yeah. Oh, God. And you could see Bruce Arians just looking at him on the Zoom meeting today. He said he started his coaching career today. He said the doctors told him, if you get another one like this, you may not be holding your kids.
Yeah,
so,
that's definitely a shame. Yeah.
And you know what, Peter? I'm going to go back to Nick Hardwick, who's a former center for the San Diego Chargers when Philip Rivers was there.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about the center, when you have to reach block, because you're snapping the ball, you're reaching with your head. And that's what happened to A.Q. Shipley. He reached with his head, and the guy just came through and it's a neck injury. And they told Nick the same thing they probably told AQ. Hey, this isn't a stinger. You get another one of these, you may not be able to walk. So, hey, you got to retire. And it's a shame, but, God love him. The guy played hard. The guy had a great career, and, Godspeed.
Absolutely. We're on with the legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty, former coach, scout, and now media member of Night Sports Productions. It's Sports Mag here on the evolution of sports talk television. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about live here on Bucs Report, powered by 320solar.com. Looking at that relationship between Brady and Arians, do you have any concerns? Do you sense any friction between Arians and Brady? Because, of course, the coach came out this week talking about Brady calls his own plays. And if that's true, and he keeps on calling these deep plays, does Bruce Arians have the responsibility as being the head coach to basically tell Brady, look, I need to call this type of offense because this isn't necessarily working the way it needs to work?
Well, I don't know, Peter, if that's exactly what Arians meant. I think what he meant was that Brady has the ability to change the play.
Okay.
I don't think that he's calling his own plays. Now, keep in mind, the quarterback will sit down with the offensive coordinator and say, okay, I like this, I don't like this. And again, they'll do that on like a Wednesday or a Thursday after practice and saying, okay, this I don't feel comfortable with this guy. I feel real comfortable with this guy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he calls his own plays in a sense that he's going to put together what the play sheet looks like for the game. So again, he has the ability and the propensity, SAT word,
very nice,
to actually look at the defense and change it. But he's not getting in the huddle and calling his own plays. No, that's not what's happening.
Who's the fault on giving up on the running game and for this stagnation, Leo word, of this offense? Because again, there are times where they go 3 and out and they don't have an identity, but they do one game, but the next game they don't. Who's to blame for it? Is it Coach Arians? Is it Brady? Or is it Byron Leftwich? And does it get to a point where if this offense continues to struggle, that basically BA says, you know what, I'm going to start calling the plays because Leftwich is just not working out for us?
I think it's a conglomeration of everything you said, Peter, that the bottom line is when Brady gets to the line of scrimmage, if it's a run and he thinks the pass is a better play, he's going to change it unless they tell him not to. And you're not going to tell a 20-year veteran, no, you don't change the play.
Sure.
So, again, it was kind of comical when you looked at it, Peter, because this wasn't the Saints game where there were 4 consecutive 3-and-outs and the 5th was a 2-play interception.
Exactly.
This was a game where they were in it the whole way. No team was ever behind by more than a score. So there was a reason to run the football. Now, the funny thing is, Rams didn't run it real well either.
Right.
I mean,
right.
Jared Goff threw it 51 times.
Right.
So, again, and Brady threw it in the 40s.
And
when
you
win a football game,
mm-hmm.
you're not going to be over 30, 32, 35 passes. Because now it's just the game gets extended because of incompletions, because the ball going out of bounds. By running the ball, you shorten the game. I'll tell you what, I'm debating myself. I'm thinking Sunday 48-45 Bucs, but I'm also thinking maybe 24-23 Bucs. By running the ball, you keep Mahomes and company on the sideline, and the clock runs. That's I got a feeling when they're sitting in that room that Arians looks around and says, guys, we can't give Mahomes the ball 10, 11, 12 times. He'll score 6.
What did you see on those two? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Leo.
But you got to cut down on the number of possessions. And it's kind of funny. I got on with Andy Reid this week, and I say, Andy, do you just watch film with your coaches? And when Mahomes does something, do you just look, or one of your coaches said, did he really just do that?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, a lot of the times we'll look at it and say, oh, that's Patrick. People don't realize how special this kid is. And he does some things. I'll tell you what, Peter, there's 2 guys in this league that are special, that can do things that no one else can. One of them's in Kansas City and the other's in Arizona. And Kyler Murray, because of his baseball background, he'll throw it from any body angle and any arm angle.
Absolutely.
And you've got Mahomes the same way. His dad was a pitcher. So he's got the baseball background too. So again, this is going to be a fun game to watch.
Definitely going to be a fun game to watch. Going back to Brady versus the Rams, do you see a quarterback that's kind of lost his fastball? Do you think he could still get it done? Because not the best game at all. And then, of course, the 2 interceptions. What did he see on those 2 interceptions, and what have you learned from those 2 interceptions from talking to BA and various Bucs this week?
Well, it may be a guy trying to press too much.
Okay.
In terms of, and again, the last interception was a perfect example. There was plenty of time left on the clock.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that interception happened with 1:56 left. Plenty of time to move the football down the field. And again, sometimes you're getting greedy. And, you try to take something that isn't there and try to squeeze it in and try to make it happen. And, Peter, has he lost a little bit of MPH on the fastball? Yeah, maybe. But it's not going to hurt him because he has the ability to go and find that short pass, to find that check. Brad Johnson says, you'll never go broke with checkdowns.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Because all it is, and again, that's the one thing I think the Buccaneers are missing, is when you talk about the run game, that short pass to the running backs is like a running play.
Correct. It's exactly what they institute in New England. That's the reason why the Patriots offense worked for so many years. When you didn't have a running game or didn't have a bell cow running back, you threw it out to the running back and got the 3 to 4 necessary yards. So instead of 2nd and 9, 2nd and 10, it's 2nd and 6. And then you get down into those manageable situations and 3rd down where it's 3rd and 3 and 3rd and 4. That's the reason why that works. And it hasn't worked in this offense and didn't work in the offense on Monday night.
And you know what, Peter? The clock runs.
Yep.
And that's the key. Hey, and again, Rod Marinelli educated me on this very early in my career as a sports analyst.
Mm-hmm.
He said, remember, with our defense, we play the run on the way to the pass. We're rushing the passer. If we run into the run, great. But the key is the number 9. If we give a team double-digit possessions, they're going to wear us down. And that's the key, is you can't give a team the ball 10, 11, 12 times because that's going to hurt you. And hurt the Bucs, you can see.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, Peter, it's kind of funny when you look at this. If the Bucs finish second, they're probably going to end up playing either Washington, Philadelphia, New York, or Dallas.
Right.
On the road.
And
I tell you what, that's not a bad look right out of the gate.
No, it's definitely not. It's definitely not, especially with those teams and their inconsistencies and that overall division. I don't know if you watched the game on Thursday with the Cowboys and the Redskins. That's the last time I picked the Cowboys. I have no idea what the hell they're doing there. Ezekiel Elliott's been a monumental disappointment ever since he got that contract extension. He's basically taken his money and gone home. 5 fumbles this year. He had 5 fumbles before that throughout his whole total career, and he has 5 fumbles this year. Completely disappointing, but you're exactly right. More than likely, you're going to either face the Washington Redskins, who are a great story in itself with getting Alex Smith back and Ron Rivera being the coach. And, of course, I didn't realize this, but Norv Turner, his son, is the offensive coordinator of the Redskins, or the Philadelphia Eagles, so maybe not necessarily a bad spot. With all that being said, the defense probably has been one of the most disappointing aspects of this team. How can you allow Jared Goff to go off? They played better in the second half, but why does it take so long for this defense to adjust, to make necessary adjustments? I see them playing zone. I see them playing 10 yards off the ball when clearly it's 3rd and 5. So basically the quarterback is going to see that. I don't see a lot of blitzing. I mean, why doesn't this defense do what they always do, which is play aggressive, play man-to-man, bump and run coverage and blitz and get after the quarterback? Why have they changed all of a sudden? And is it because of the coaches not necessarily having the confidence in their young corners, in the Jamel Dean, who most likely, he's going to miss this game. So a Sean Murphy Bunting and a Carlton Davis, have they lost faith in those corners to where they're not going to play that type of defense early on in the game?
They're probably not going to play it against Kansas City. And the reason they didn't play it against the Rams is all the pre-snap movement and motion.
Okay.
The Rams do a lot. And Peter, if you go back and watch the film, you'll find out that the Rams do an interesting thing with motion. The motion man will end up somewhere between the tackles.
Mm-hmm.
That's a tough call for a defensive back. Do you follow him through? Do you stop? Do you wait? So what's the best thing to do? Play zone. I think you're going to see the same thing with, and again, Peter, you pull bump and run with Kansas City. When you got Sammy Watkins and you got all that, and Watkins is going to play the way it looks.
Right.
You got so much speed there. You don't want to play man-to-man because they will run by you quickly. So I think you're going to see a lot of soft zone. They're going to let Mahomes, okay, fine. You want to go 4, 5, 6 yards? Great. Make them take 10, 11, 12 plays. Make the clock run if they're going to get down. And then when they get inside the 20, tighten up.
How tough is this matchup? How tough is that matchup to do that? Because they have not been successful in doing that. I've seen defensive linemen. I've seen, JPP out in coverage. And, of course, he had an interception the other night, a second straight game for doing that. But I see, more zone. Can the Bucs get this done versus the Chiefs? Is this a good game plan? Or once again, are we going to be looking at, like you said, a 48-45 game where the defense is not able to get off the field because basically the offense has their number? And it certainly seems like, in my opinion, offensive coordinators have kind of gotten Todd Bowles' defense down now.
Well, if you can't get to the quarterback, Peter, it's going to be a long evening.
Okay.
That's the bottom line. And again, it should be the same way on the other side of the ball. Tristan Wirfs had a great game against Aaron Donald.
Right.
I mean, let's be realistic.
Really did.
You got a rookie right tackle, and Aaron Donald doesn't get there.
Right.
And that's a big thing. So, Tristan Wirfs held his own, and now you got to move. And Peter, I'm concerned about Ali Marpet. I mean, he is going to be a game day decision again. And this concussion may be something that's really bad because he's already missed 3-4 games, and it may be another one. And this is something that, now you got to move back to center, and now you got to play with who's going to play guard. So I think Marpet is a key to get him back in the game. But honestly, it's whoever quarterback is the cleanest is going to win the game.
Who do you like in this game? Do you like Kansas City or you like Tampa Bay? You like Tampa Bay?
I like Tampa Bay.
Okay.
Only because, Brady's been a bit surly this week. He's not into, what is this losing 3 in a row thing?
Mm-hmm.
And the media's kind of, the honeymoon's over with the media. They're kind of asking TB a lot of questions that he didn't see up in New England.
Right.
And are they founded? Yeah. It's you make a couple mistakes, and it's not like New England where you got the ability to come back from that. This team has to play a clean sheet when with soccer. They can't make mistakes. They can't turn the ball over.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
I like Tampa Bay. Peter, again, I don't know if it's going to be 48-45 or it's going to be 24-23. If the Buccaneers can run the football, 24-23. If they can't, it's going to be a shootout, last team with the football.
All right, good stuff. Leo Haggerty, the legend himself, former coach, scout, and now media member of Night Sports Productions. It's Sports Mag. We'll talk to you later. Thanks a lot for your time here on the Sports Web. All right, boss?
Always a pleasure to come on with the hardest working guy in Tampa Bay.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that. You follow me, okay?
Take care, brother.
All right, buddy. There you go. Good stuff there from Leo Haggerty. We'll get on Evan Winter. Let's get him on here in just a little bit. And then we'll take some phone calls from you guys here. But let me just get them on. Interesting stuff from Leo Haggerty. We're calling him right now. That would be Evan Winter of course, Bucs Nation. And we'll see what he has to say here. Evan, are you there?
What's up, Peter? How's it going, man?
What's going on, buddy? Welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television, the Sports Web Live on Bucs Report. And, of course, recapping the game and then, trying to get off of it. But, how disappointed are you, Evan, with this offense and the way they've kind of, 1 week they're running the ball, you're really successful with the run game and the pass game. And then the next week, basically they forget about the run game altogether.
Look, I'm not trying to make excuses, but I think Ali Marpet's injury has a lot to do with the offensive dysfunction that we've seen over the last 3 or 4 weeks from the Bucs. Now, granted, next man up, all the cliche football phrases, they've got to find a way to overcome it. But at the same time, when it's your best offensive lineman on an offensive line that overall is average but does have the potential to be very, very good, it's going to have a ripple effect. We've talked about in the past, not necessarily you and I in specifics, but just in general, we talked about how one guy can kind of bring another guy down on a unit, especially the offensive line. Well, Ali Marpet just so happens to play left guard. We've seen a very, very below average play of left tackle Donovan Smith over these last 2 weeks, who might not play this week. So, man, I just think, honestly, Ali Marpet's injury has had a ripple effect on the offense in general. At the same time, not trying to make excuses, but if he plays this weekend, that's a huge boost for the Bucs, and hopefully he does.
Do you think this team, of course, are they better off with running the ball and having balance? Because, Tom Brady, 3 for the last 36 on deep passes, really not getting it done. A lot of criticism this week from Coach Arians. I wouldn't say a lot of criticism, but some criticism out there. Quarterback has to play well, but we have to make him comfortable. What do you think he means by that?
Well, obviously, Brady is not a guy who's going to bail out of the pocket. He's not a guy who's mobile. So you have to have good pass protection around him, and I believe that's what Arians means by they've got to protect him. But at the same time, you've got to adjust. I mean, whenever your best guy is out, you don't need to be taking 25-yard shots on 3rd and 8. You need to try to move the chains, get yourself in a manageable situation. But at the same time, I'm not an NFL head coach. I don't have this type of pedigree. It feels to me like they need to adjust their game plan for the Marpet injury, just for the overall. If we're talking solid protection, lack of protection, whatever type of protection, Bruce Arians and Byron Leftwich needs to have a certain game plan coming into week to week. And it just seems like right now they're still stuck on that vertical offense, and that's obviously doesn't play to Brady's strengths. I feel like a lot of that deep passing has to do with Marpet being out. That's a convenient excuse. And like I said, I'm not trying to make excuses, but I would love to see the sample size whenever Marpet comes back, if he does come back this year, and what Brady does from that point on.
Are you disappointed with the effect or non-factor of an Antonio Brown? Because all we heard was, and I get it, he's still trying to get accustomed to the offense and everything like that, but against the Carolina Panthers did a good job. Really nothing against the Saints. Really nothing against the Rams. Are you surprised that he hasn't been more effective? And has he been the cause of the reason why this offense has been so inconsistent? Because not only Coach Arians and Leftwich, but also Brady are trying to basically force feed him the ball, which is basically taking away from your offense. Is that fair?
Totally fair, man. And I think now this is coming right off my head. I could be wrong on this, and I'm kind of paraphrasing here. But I believe I saw a stat coming out of this Monday night's game, or this Monday night's game, whatever you want to say. Antonio Brown has been targeting more than Chris Godwin over the last 2 weeks. Now, granted, there's a lot of context. You got Chris Godwin having injuries, so on and so forth. Well, actually, that's the only context there is. But I don't feel like Antonio Brown should be getting targeted more than Chris Godwin. Obviously the debate over the last month or so has been Mike Evans and his lack of targets or his just involvement total in the offense. So you don't want to game plan around one person. However, Bruce Arians has talked or not talked, but he's been quoted himself saying that this offense takes his quarterbacks a year and a half to really master at some point. So why are you giving a guy who just signed up on the team a month ago a ton of targets? And granted, 10 targets can mean whatever context you want, but in the context of being or out targeting Chris Godwin, yeah, man, that's an issue. And I don't necessarily think that that's the cause of the offensive deficiencies, but I do believe it lends a hand. And that's also Tom being familiar or wanting to be familiar with his own guys, with a guy coming on at week 9 in the season or week 8, whatever week that Antonio Brown came on,
Right.
and then being targeted more than, a Pro Bowl receiver a year ago just doesn't really make a lot of sense.
How concerned are you with this offense going forward? I mean, even if Ali plays or he doesn't play, do you think they can still get it done? I mean, if they lose to the Chiefs, you're basically 7-5. You have to run the table. You have the Falcons twice. To me, the Falcons are god-awful, especially defensively. But, the Bucs have played down to their competition this year. You have the Lions. You have the Vikings. So definitely some winnable games where you have to run the table. But, some people saying 10-6, possibly 11-5 gets you in. I mean, how concerned are you, especially if there is a possibility they lose this game versus the Chiefs on Sunday?
It depends on how they lose the game.
Okay.
I have this strong notion, and this just could be my own optimism, whatever. A lot of people call me pessimist, so, kind of take this how you want. But I have a strong feeling that once this team gets to the bye week and they can focus on the last 4 weeks of the season, Minnesota, Atlanta, Detroit, Atlanta, that they're going to have a lot of success. And that is partially because of being able to reassess themselves during the bye week and being able to figure out what they need to do over those 4 games. And it also has a lot to do with their schedule. I'm not too worried in that context. I'm bringing up the word context again. But now when we get to the playoffs, I still think this team's obviously a playoff team, obviously, by making that remark. Now, when we get to the playoffs, different story. I'm actually worried if this team has to go to New York and has a rematch with the Giants team, not just based off of the players on the field, the players on paper, but really just this coaching staff and the fact that they're willing, or they're not willing, rather, to make in-game adjustments. I mean, we've just seen it when the Bucs run the table, they run the table, but whenever they hit a brick wall, they hit a brick wall. So a lot of it just has to do with looking at yourself in the mirror, reassessing what you want to do moving forward. But if they come out and lose to the Chiefs this week by 2-3 points, maybe even a touchdown, just depending on if a garbage touchdown pulls them within that touchdown, it just really depends on how they lose that game. But I honestly think that they're going to compete this week, and I think they have a very good shot at knocking the Chiefs off.
And we're on with Evan Winter of Bucs Nation here on the Sports Web, powered by 320solar.com. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. So with that being said, we talked about the offensive line and Brady, of course, but who's the biggest culprit of this, offensive dysfunction, if you will? Is it Coach Arians? Is it Byron Leftwich? Is it Tom Brady? And at a certain point, are there too many voices at this juncture? And should there be just one voice? And is there a possibility, in your opinion, that if this offense continues to struggle, that BA would basically go back on his word and take play calling duties away from Leftwich?
Hopefully that's not the case.
Okay.
You want to see consistency in a coaching staff, and you can point to Chicago as the epitome of inconsistency, who benched Trubisky by Nick Foles, completely sucked with him, and then is now bringing Trubisky back. I mean, that's like the last thing you want to do as a head coach.
Yeah.
So I feel like at the end of the day, it all falls on Leftwich and BA because they're the ones who come out with the game plan. At the same time, I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm not trying to pin it all on one thing. I know football is a complicated sport, but this injury to Ali Marpet is huge, not just because of the fact that he's the Bucs' best offensive lineman, but his play has a lot to do with what Donovan Smith does. And we all know Donovan can be back and forth. He can be downright awful. He can be very, very good. But I feel like a lot of that has to do with what Ali Marpet does next to him. So, man, I just really feel like that if Ali comes back this week, as long as Smith plays, Josh Wells at left tackle is a completely different story.
Hmm.
But as long as he comes back this week, man, I really feel like Tampa Bay has a good shot. And that's because he matches the identity. You bring up balance. He matches the identity of what this Bucs staff wants to do at the end of the day. They want to be balanced, even if it's in the most uncreative, I don't even know if it's a word, but if it's the most bland sort of ways, they want to be balanced. They want to win the ball. They want to base the pass off the run. And that's just what they need. And again, like I said, it goes back to what they do in terms of the game plan and in coaching or in-game adjustments.
Right.
And I feel like they've really missed the ball or missed the mark on over the last few weeks with Ali out.
In your opinion, who's most likely to play? Is it going to be Ali Marpet or is it Donovan Smith? You look at it, Donovan Smith hasn't practiced all week. Supposedly he's in a walking boot, so that's not necessarily a good thing, especially for a left tackle that already has footwork problems. Right. And then you have Marpet, who's dealing with concussion protocol. He's practiced all week, but still has not passed concussion protocol. So is there a distinct possibility, as crazy as this sounds, that both of these players could miss together? And then on your left side, you have Ryan Jensen and Josh Wells. Who do you think is more likely to play? And do you think there's a possibility that they both may not play?
There's definitely a possibility that they don't play, or both of them. Ali practiced all week last week except for Friday. Had a full practice at one point. It wasn't enough. So everything is up in the air with him. The fact that Donovan didn't even get in a limited session this week is huge. Yeah, it's terrifying, man. It really is. The good news is that Frank Clark hasn't been the guy we've known him to be over the last few weeks, or actually just this year in general. You still got Chris Jones on the inside. Hopefully they line him up over Kappa. And then H2 Sipley, the injury to him is big as well. So, man, I believe there's an absolute possibility. And then, sorry, just to sidetrack for a second, but Alex Okafor should be coming back to the Chiefs this week as well. We all know about the Cam Jordan joke he made about when Donovan had the extension with the Bucs a few years ago, so on and so forth.
Right.
But, yeah, man, there's definitely a chance that both of them don't play. And for somebody like me who picked the Bucs to win today, that's not a good thing. That's definitely not a good thing.
Yeah, you look at the Chiefs; they're coming into here relatively healthy. You got Sammy Watkins coming back, so that should definitely help their offense. You have Mitch Schwartz on the right side who's coming back, so they're coming in here healthy. And of course, you have Patrick Mahomes and Kelsey at tight end and Tyreek Hill. Speaking about that defense. Like you said, adjustments. Why does it take so long, Evan, for this team to make adjustments? Something's not working. It takes until either, you get to a certain point after halftime. I mean, why can't this team adjust more? Why can't this coaching staff adjust better to what the other team is doing?
I really don't know. And when you get to this point at week 12 in the season and you can't figure out why in-game adjustments aren't being made, I mean, I hate to speculate, but it has to boil down to hubris. I mean, there's just a certain style of play that is predicated on how this offense works, and this coaching staff is not willing to relent upon whatever, in their opinion, makes this work. So to me, it's a coaching staff problem. I mean, dude, if you're missing your best offensive lineman, you're going against Aaron Donald, Leonard Floyd, who up until this year hasn't really been much, but coming into last week's game, he had 7 sacks, Michael Brockers. You're going up against a very, very talented front. Start taking shots on 3 and 6, or 3 and 6, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8. Take what the defense gives you. Regardless, I know they want to put their footprint on the game. They want to have, just whatever can work. But at the same time, man, you got to do something. And honestly, I just feel like at this point, we know this team is talented. At this point, it just feels like hubris that's keeping this game or team from making the in-game adjustments that they should make.
Yeah, Bruce Arians says, other than the deep ball, I think Tom is getting confused a few times with coverage that might be causing some inaccurate balls, but I don't see it all in the practice. We're not missing the deep ball in practice, that's for sure. So it's just a matter of on Sundays hitting them. There was a pass there to Antonio Brown where you would expect him to catch it. He's not able to catch it. So do you think that this offensive staff can make the necessary adjustments for not only Brady to be comfortable, but basically to use every weapon that you have, because it is somewhat of a disappointment that they're having the struggles that they're having.
It's 100% a disappointment, especially when you look at the names that headline this offense. And granted, a lot of that is because it's Tom Brady. He's going to have pressure on him no matter what he does off the field, on the field, because obviously that works in both regards.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to get held to a very, very high standard. However, at the same time, yeah, man, I mean, you've got to think that they should all come together, they should figure this out, and they should get it done. Now, granted, as we talked about, they faced arguably the best defense in the league last week in the Rams. Still found a way to move the ball just like they did in Chicago outside the penalties. So it's just really about this team coming together and not making the mental mistakes that we've seen in the past. And at the end of the day, Peter, they're 7-4. They're coming into this game. Granted, they're underdogs, but they have a shot to win if everything plays out right.
Sure.
And if they finish 8-4 going into this bye week with 4 games left, that's an amazing situation to be in. And even if they finish 7-5 going into this bye week, I had them at 10-6 coming into the year, just because of all the adjustments, so on and so forth. Either way, if they finish 10-6, 11-5 going to the playoffs, I think that's a successful regular season. Now, once they signed Antonio Brown, they put themselves on the market to win a playoff game. I mean, it's just all said and done. You add that type of guy, that type of talent to this roster, you've got to find a way to get it done. So whether that happens in the postseason, we'll debate on here in a few weeks. But 11-5, 10-6, that's definitely a successful regular season. And honestly, for a team that hasn't had a winning record, since 2010 and 2008 before that, you really can't ask much more than that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the expectations there, like you said, with Tom Brady, for me, it was always, Super Bowl all in, Super Bowl or bust. But, obviously this team has been hurt by the fact of not only injuries taking its toll with their wide receivers earlier on, and that affected the chemistry, but also what Coach Arians has kind of talked about in this whole process, the 400 missed reps. So, going with Kansas City, how do you defend them? I mean, you have Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Clyde Edwards-Helaire at the running back spot. We talked about Kelsey Hill. How would you defend them? I mean, can you play zone? We just got off the line here with Leo Haggerty. He said expect them to go a lot of zone. Can you really do that? Or do you have to blitz a Patrick Mahomes and kind of change up your looks? Because this team has really not been successful in playing that type of zone. And then on top of it, you're going to miss Jamel Dean on Sunday.
Zone is the first word, which sends a lot of chills down people's backs, rightfully so. But pressure, zone pressure, they've got to find a way to blitz out of zone pressure when it comes to messing with Patrick Mahomes. Now, granted, that's kind of been their default. I really think this Vita Vea injury, we're talking about week 5, obviously, but still, my whole theory, and, take this for what y'all want. I'm not expecting anybody to buy in what I say 100%. But my whole theory was when Vita Vea went down, was Todd Bowles will have 3 to 4 weeks to where he can still get by, scheme, figure out how to put his guys in the best position to still create pressure. However, towards the back end before the bye week, if I'm speaking correctly, hopefully this all makes sense, he's going to start running out of options. Teams are going to start figuring out what they're doing on tape, and a lot of that is the stunts and loops he does up front to create room and freedom for his linebackers. I just really feel like right now this defense and this offense to a certain extent is kind of at its wit's end in terms of what it can do. And like I said, this is all speculation. This is all just my opinion. I feel like going into this bye week, after this week, going into the bye week, the team's going to have a very, very good chance to reset, figure out what it needs to do, figure out what it's best at, and then the last 4 games. And granted, it's going to help playing offenses like Minnesota, Detroit, and Atlanta, but we're really going to see this defense kind of take a different shape, and it's really going to get a lot of people excited going into the postseason. This zone pressure is going to be the key this weekend. Whether or not that works, I don't know. You can't play man-to-man against Patrick Mahomes because he's going to find a way to get out of pocket. He's going to find a way to find those hidden yards. And then you can't just rush 3 and drop back 8, because we've seen this year Kansas City has no issue running the ball except especially with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So it means zone pressure, man. That's the key. You're gonna have to mix up your looks, which fortunately Todd Bowles is best at, and Tampa Bay can do to an extent. I'm just really, really keeping my fingers crossed that he saved his best for last this week going into the bye week.
Somebody asked me this off air, and we're on with Evan Winter of Bucs Nation. Would you quarterback spy a Patrick Mahomes because he is so mobile with a Devin
100%.
White or possibly Levante David? Okay.
Definitely, yeah, man. Especially with, you've got David and Levante out there. They can move sideline to sideline 100%. You've got to spy him because, like I said, if you send the blitz, if you send whether it's 5, 6 guys and you man up, granted, the Bucs have the corners to play man to man, but dude, you turn your back to him, he's gonna find that alley. I mean, we've seen it so much this year. And going back to Vita Vea, I feel like he doesn't. Without Vea, this team does not get the interior push up front, which makes them blitz from other areas. Now, granted, that's what Todd Bowles likes to do in general, but once you send a guy out of that zone, that's where teams look to throw to, and that's why the Bucs have been running a lot more zone here lately. 100% though, you've got to leave somebody in there to spy him. Almost, I would say, on 90% of defensive plays.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that because he is such a guy that you can make plays outside of the pocket, and then when he gets outside of the pocket, guys start to come up, and that's what you saw in the Raiders game, especially that last drive where Kelsey was wide open, and that was the reason for that was defenders saw a guy like Mahomes getting out of the pocket, try to go and make a play instead of do his job, and then Kelsey catches the touchdown to basically end the game. How concerned are you with Kelsey versus this defense? And do you think they're going to try to basically get Devin White on him? We've seen White, some of the things that he struggles with, that's namely coverage. So could you see Kansas City trying to expose that matchup against White?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And then Jordan Whitehead, too. You got to think he's on tight ends a lot of time. Now, granted, he's had success against George Kittles and stuff like that, but it's hard for me to actually encompass all of that in the overall defensive performance. So, yeah, they're going to target Kelsey. It's going to be a huge mismatch this week. Now, whether or not the Bucs rise above that, we'll obviously see on Sunday. But, dude, yeah, Travis Kelsey is a total matchup nightmare, and he's going to be a matchup nightmare for his defense. Just keep your fingers crossed on that one.
Yeah, no, definitely keep your fingers crossed. Is one of the keys to the game, in your opinion, Evan, get the victim of volume in a Ronald Jones. 1 week again, 23 carries, 192 yards, longest rushing touchdown in Bucs history for 98 yards to the house. And then 10 for 24. It's just not going to get it done, my friend. You've got to run the ball. And not only do you run the ball, you give your offense that balance, but also you keep Patrick Mahomes and that unbelievable offense off the field. Is that one of your keys to this game?
100%. We've seen teams like the Titans beating the Chiefs last year. We've seen the Raiders, who are all about running the ball, beat the Chiefs this year, come within 4 points of beating them last week. That's what you have to do. Now, granted, if you're missing the entire left side of the offensive line, this can be really hard to do. And if you don't feed the most talented runner on your roster, it's going to make it even that much harder. Dude, I don't know what's up with this coaching staff and Leonard Fournette. I made a joke about the Saints and the Bucs coaching staff a couple weeks ago saying that Sean Payton must have dirty photos on Bruce Arians. Well, Leonard Fournette must have dirty photos on Bruce Arians as well. Like, I just don't understand how he can sit there and seriously say in front of the microphone, in front of the media, that the hot hand gets the ball, and we see Leonard Fournette with as abysmal of a performance as that we've seen. God, I can't even remember. Maybe since Jaquiz Rodgers in 2018 against the Redskins. No hate on Jaquiz.
Right.
But just that is a performance. And you keep going back to him. Just at this point, and sorry to coach, but it's all bullshit when it comes to the hot hand at this point. And honestly, I feel like Ronald Jones should get every opportunity he can. But if the Chiefs get out to a 21-3 lead this week, in the second quarter, then all bets are off, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, what's the worst case scenario? You lose to the Chiefs, and let's say this team doesn't make the playoffs. Could you see changes happening to this coaching staff? I was speaking about, Byron Leftwich possibly being replaced because this offense and the stagnation. Could you see the Glazers demanding changes because of all the money they put into this team? Could Bruce Arians possibly lose his job? I'm just spitballing here, but look, you've got to be Kansas City. If you can't be Kansas City, you basically have to run the table. What if this team doesn't run the table because of the injuries and all the offensive inconsistencies? Could you see changes happening in the offseason?
In the offseason, no.
Okay.
Just because we know how on board the Glazers are with this whole situation, bringing in Tom. They love Jason Light. Obviously, Jason Light is the reason Bruce Arians came in. And Arians, even though he throws his players under the bus, whether that's right or wrong,
right,
I don't really see him doing that for his coaches. Even there was the line, I believe, yesterday or today, even where he said to a media member that AQ will get his first crack at coaching through BA based off his injury. So, I mean, he's all about his guys. He's all about what he wants to do in terms of developing the guys underneath him. No, I don't think there'll be any wholesale changes. Now, whether or not some internal discussions go on where the Glazers are like, hey, Bruce, well, what do you think about Byron? So on and so forth. That's a different story, but overall, no. It's the beautiful in turn, and I say beautiful in regard to what BA and Jason Light and the Glazers have going on, is that this is a 2-year deal. So it's not a 5-year deal, it's not a 7-year deal, whatever. So this year they could always chalk it up as, well, we brought in a quarterback, there's COVID, we had no preseason, let's give it a shot next year. And then obviously whatever happens next year after that is anybody's guess, but I don't see any wholesale changes happening after this year.
Yeah. Do you sense any friction between Coach Arians and Brady, or are people making too much of that?
I think people are making too much of it. You got two guys who are competitive as hell. You got two guys that know how to win. Now, obviously, if we see Brady, we haven't seen Brady yell at Arians like he has at Josh McDaniels in the past on the sideline. So if something like that happens, sure, it warrants a total conversation. But as of right now, without being in the building, no, I don't sense any friction there.
All right, Kansas City versus Tampa on Sunday. Who do you like and why?
I got Tampa Bay 34-30. I just feel like last week, even though they only lost by 3, Brady's going to be pissed. This team wants to make a statement. They want to feel good going into the bye week. They're going to throw everything at this Kansas City team. I know that sounds like a 4-7 team instead of a 7-4 team approach mindset. However, it's the game before the bye week. Do everything you can to win this game. Set yourself up in the best position possible to run the table over these last 4 games. And who knows? A 12-4 record, especially with Taysom Hill, even though he looked very good last week at quarterback in New Orleans, it could win the NFC South. It could.
Yep.
I mean, and even if you finish 12-4 in second place, that's still a huge deal, especially for a team that finished 7-9 last year and hasn't made the playoffs since 2007 or the 2008 postseason, however you want to categorize it. However, just get the job done this week. Go into the bye weeks with some momentum, and then let's take these last 4 NFC matchups on at the head and get the job done.
Absolutely. Great stuff, Evan Winter of Bucs Nation. Thanks a lot for your time here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television, the Sports Web, powered by 320solar.com. All right, boss?
Thank you, man. Sorry. I blessed y'all tonight by not having my mug come on the screen. So hopefully you got some more viewers in that regard.
Oh, hey, man, we'll get you back on there. Your mug's not that bad. We got some people that have way worse mug than you, my friend, but you do a hell of a job with Bucs Nation. We appreciate the time.
Thanks, Peter.
All right, good stuff there. Evan Winter of Bucs Nation. So it's your turn now to talk about your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What do you think? 727-255-0391 and 727-255-0391. Let's read these comments. Go Bucs, baby, says Rodney. Matthew says Tampa Bay. Edward says, Gross says, Go Bucs report. Appreciate it. Christopher Cole says, I don't care how long that intro is. I love it. Appreciate you. SMB, Davis, Whitehead, Winfield Jr., Edwards, let's go. I agree. They got a tough matchup this week versus the Chiefs. Can they get it done? Antonio says, I need psycho Tom Brady from New England this week. I agree. You also need an offensive line that's going to block for you. You need a running game. You need some sort of balance. I'm looking for balance. That's what I'm looking for. That's what you're going to have versus the Chiefs. And that may take a hit. because Ali Marpet and Donovan Smith may both miss the game. So a next man up mentality. You got to get it done. Sadly, because of the poor depth and stupidity drafting a running back that's not playing and drafting a wide receiver that's not being utilized instead of drafting OL depth, Misador, good point. Although, to be fair, Tyler Johnson has made somewhat of an impact this year. Keyshawn Vaughn in his moments, but you could definitely see them trying to draft an offensive lineman. And I'll tell you what, let's go out to Ed. Ed, welcome to the Sports Web here on a Friday night. What do you have to say, my friend?
I got a lot to say tonight.
Okay.
First of all, can you tell me, have you heard anything about Marpet? Is he going to be able to play? Did he practice at all this week? What's going on?
The latest on Marpet is he has practiced this week. Okay. He's had a concussion since week 8. He had 3 full practices, but still needs to work out of the protocol. So he hasn't worked out of that. I think you're going to know more tomorrow. And if he's not able to work out of that protocol, more than likely he's going to miss the game. Jamel Dean will miss the game, and Donovan Smith has not practiced all week. He is a game time decision. So I would be shocked if he plays. And even if he does play, how effective is he going to be in a walking boot? I'm just not sure. So this may be a very tough week, especially on that left side. We'll have to see what the Bucs have at the depth situation with Josh Wells. And, of course, most likely Ryan Jensen. And then on top of it, AQ Shipley. That injury has been –
he's gone, right?
He's done. He's retired. He's going to be a coach most likely with the Bucs. That's what Coach Arians says. So that's disappointing. And yet another offensive lineman that's injured. So and Aaron Stiney is going to have to step up. So it's going to be a tough week for this offensive line. They're going to have to figure this out. And I feel like that if you're trying to throw the ball 48 times with all the offensive line injuries, that doesn't make sense. What do you say?
Well, that's exactly what I was going to bring up. If they don't have Marpet, they should not try to throw the football. That would just be stupid.
Well, I think you have to throw the football, but you have to.
Well, I mean, not try to throw it. You
have to scale it down. You can't go 5 to 7 step drops all the time. You have to maybe.
Well, you're gonna have to. Right. You're gonna have to run early, run often against this defense, anyways.
I agree. And
so, I mean, regardless of who they have, they got to run early and run often against this defense. You know what? I heard Abrams say that they were built to run. Why doesn't he? He confuses me sometimes, and that's one of the things I wanted to bring up tonight. Is he confuses me. Sometimes he says something and it does another.
Right.
Do you think some of that is just to try to throw off teams maybe in an interview?
I think there's sometimes he likes to play games and push buttons on other players. I definitely think. I think he's a lot like Phil Jackson in that respect, where he'll say something and he may do another. That's always been somewhat of, always been a straight shooter, but there are times, you're exactly right. Well, he will say something and then he'll do the exact opposite. It makes no sense to me. I go back to the running game. 1 week you're a running team and you're doing everything successful and you have balance, and then the next week you basically give up on it, and there's no reason to give up on it because you're not down by 14 or 21 points. You're still in the game, and the run game is a big part of your offense. Right.
It made no sense.
No sense at all. Yep. And you can't do it versus Kansas City. In fact, that's one of my keys to the game. The victim of volume, or Fournette or Keyshawn Vaughn or whoever plays the running back situation, you have to get them more carries than 10. 10 and 7 is 17. That's still not enough carries to give a guy. And that's both of the running backs combined. 17 carries, not going to get it done. And on top of it, you have to keep Mahomes off the field and that offense off the field. And the way to do that, put ball possession, keeping the ball, and also running the ball and taking the pressure off of a Tom Brady.
Getting off the field on third down.
Well, that's another thing.
The defense has got to do that.
They got to do a better job with that, Ed. Absolutely. Yes. What else, bud?
If they don't do that, we're going to lose bad. I mean, you got probably the greatest show on turf that you're going to face in offense this week.
Pretty good.
If you don't get off the field on third down, if you don't tackle better, forget it. It's over.
Yeah, well, they definitely didn't do that. That was another disappointing factor on Monday night. But thank God it
was just terrible.
Thank God it's not a primetime game, right, Ed?
Yeah, it's not going to be a primetime game. And so who is the primary backup to Shipley then?
It's going to be Aaron Stiney.
Who's that?
Well, exactly. Exactly. Who's Josh Wells? Ryan Jensen.
I know where Josh Wells. I know about Josh
It-
Wells. But
there's a lot.
he's
There's
a veteran.
There's a lot of. Well, he's not a very good veteran. Okay, he's a backup for a reason. Yeah, Joe Haig possibly they could be put in that situation, but he wasn't very good. So you got a lot of questions about this offensive line.
I don't know what they're going to do. Going forward, they're going to have to go and try to find somebody off the waiver wire.
Well,
If
I mean, there's
Marpet
not
can't
much
play.
out there. I mean, if there were a lot of offensive linemen out there, you would see a lot of teams picking them up. So, again, left tackles, guards don't grow on trees. They're going to have to run with what they have. And, our own Johnny Dean, the professor, said it best. That's one thing that concerns them. You have one injury to your offensive line or multiple injuries, you're in big trouble. And it looks like the Bucs could be in big trouble. We'll monitor the situation and see what happens. Ed, thanks a lot for the call. Appreciate you. Want to give a prediction really quick, or you want to wait for Sunday?
I kind of want to see where Marpet's going to be.
Okay, fair
I don't
enough.
think they're going to win without Marpet.
All right, let me go ahead and fire those cannons for you, Ed. Becoming one of my favorite web heads here. Thanks a lot for the time. Appreciate you, all right? All right, good stuff there. Let me go ahead and read these comments, and then we will get my long-lost brother, Mr. Nick Citro, on. I see him there in the lobby smiling. It's so true. We haven't done a show together in a long time here on the Sports Web. I think he forgot about me. Brady is possession receiver, not a deep threat. Agree. Brady shouldn't get a pass because he's the GOAT. He doesn't get a pass on this show, has not gotten a pass from anybody. So once again, saying, Brady gets a pass, blah, 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 blah. You're not watching the show. None of these guys are getting a pass. None of them. They've been all equally bad, especially Brady. He has to play better. He said it. Coach Arians said it. I mean, what do you guys want? I mean, honestly, is blood enough for you guys? Is that what you want? Brady shouldn't get a pass. Brady's not getting a pass. He hasn't played well. But if you're going to come on here and say that's the position that you worried about the most, then I think you need to watch the tape. And you also have to say that the coaching staff is also responsibility for this, right? 48 passes, 18 runs, not going to get it done. Not any offense. It's not going to. It's not going to work. The game would give me a heart attack if we played a team outside of the East. Laugh out loud. D. Smith always gets beat on the outside to the inside move. Marpet helps him out a lot. He does. Let's see. Marpet needs to clear protocol by tomorrow. So we'll see what happens. Mr. Eugene Thomas of Buck, which you heard, who did a splendid job here with the Tampa Bay BAE Sports Network. Christina herself. Hey, what's up, man? Great jobs. Great stuff tonight. Run it to the right. And are we live, Jimmy James? We are live. We're always live here on Bucs Report. Let's go out to Mr. Nick Citro here. Long lost brother from another mother. Welcome back, my friend, to the evolution of sports talk television. Did you forget me? Well, we can't have that. I got no sound from you here. I don't know what's going on.
No sound.
There we go. There we go.
Good?
Citro here, our of course Twitter guy for Bucs Report, and just does a great job. I know he's been working hard off the air on your studies and everything like that. So really appreciate your time here. But what do you make of this? I keep on going back to it, and fans keep on saying to me, Brady doesn't get a pass. It's all Brady's fault, and that's just naive. It comes down to a team effort. We talked about it last year when the whole Jameis Winston thing was going on, that it wasn't just Winston, it was the offensive line and the running game. And the thing that's the most frustrating for me is it continues to go back to the coaching staff, namely the scheme. Mm-hmm. You're throwing the ball 48 times. You're only running at 18. We know that the Bucs are better. I get it. They have injuries. But once again, you got to make a commitment to it. 10 carries for 24 yards for the victim of volume, which is why you got the nickname in the first place, is not enough.
Yeah, I mean, even last year, I know everyone wants to do the Jameis Winston, Tom Brady debate, but even last year we were talking about, we were sick of the out routes because Jameis Winston would throw pick six, it seemed like every game. And I mean, if you look at it this year, it's the scheme, it's the coaching staff, and it's Brady's decision making. Why are you throwing the ball to Cam Brate in a clutch situation when he's not even open? And why are you scheming Cam Brate down the field? I mean, it it comes down to all three. I blame BA, I blame Leftwich, and I blame Brady. They're all at fault. Now you can rank them to how you want, but I mean, I've been harping on the play calling and the scheme the most. It's, I understand taking 3 to 4 deep shots per game, but I mean, what did he have against the Rams? 9 passes of over 20 yards. They played directly into the Rams' hands, and they lost because of it. And they only lost by 3 points. Think about that. They played so poorly, and they only lost by 3 points. So, it's going to be tough on Sunday if Marpet and Smith don't go. Then you got Aaron Stinney in at left guard and Josh Wells at left tackle. That's going to be a brutal left side of the line. But you got to figure out a way to get it done. I don't care if you got to put Gronk and another tight end on that side. Figure it out.
Well, would you go with Jensen at the left guard spot, or would you go with Stinney and Wells? For me, I think you go Stinney at center, Jensen at left guard, and of course, if Smith doesn't play, you got to go Josh Wells. I mean, what's the prospects of that offensive line? And does finally this coaching staff have to change what they're doing? You can't go 5 to 7 step drops. You've got to go quick, 3 to 5 step drops. You got to change your game plan up. In your opinion, can this coaching staff do that versus the Super Bowl champion Chiefs?
I don't think they're going to change. I just don't see it. We've been talking about it for weeks where enough with the deep passes. I think the last time Tom Brady threw a good deep ball was against the Raiders with Scotty Miller, and he hasn't seen the field at all since the signing of Antonio Brown. And I think Bruce Arians said in a press conference that Miller's been hurt. So we'll see, if his volume increases, if his snaps increase. But this coaching staff's not going to change. Coaches in the NFL are stubborn. They're going to run their scheme how they want to do it. I think you can. I think throwing it over the top. I think the Chiefs are more susceptible to that than the Rams. The Rams, it was a stupid game plan all around. You're not going to do that against them. But the Chiefs, it can be done, but I don't want to see it 10 times. If it's not there, that's the infuriating thing. Brady was already 0 for 5, and they're still doing what doesn't work. I understand if it's, you hit a couple of them and you keep wanting to take those shots, but when it's not working, just stop hitting your head against a brick wall. It's infuriating.
Yeah, it really is. We're on with Nitro Nick Citro here, our social media director of Bucs Report, making his debut once again here on Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake. Of course, this show powered by 320solar.com. I mean, they don't make the necessary adjustments when it comes to the offense. And then the defense, they also take longer than most teams do. Why does this team have so much of a difficulty with making adjustments so quickly? Why does it take them so long? You have 3,000 coaches. I mean, of course, I'm being facetious, but you have 3,000 coaches on this team. Why can't somebody make adjustments when basically what you're doing is not working?
Yeah, if you think about the Rams receivers, though, they've got Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods. It's going to be really hard to run man against them, and I know everyone, especially on Twitter, was screaming about the soft zone. They have to get out of soft zone. They have to get out of soft zone. And then the very next play, I don't remember when it was, but they ran man. They put Carlton Davis on Cooper Kupp, I think it was, and Davis just got torched. Cooper Kupp, I think, faked inside, went outside. I mean, he was wide open. So if you're getting sick of the soft zone, I would probably close your eyes for the 60 minutes next Sunday because they're going to run it all day. They're not going to run man against Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Sammy Watkins is probably back. You're going to get torched if you run man. I'd like to see it a little bit more balanced, but the lack of adjustments is definitely concerning. I think especially with blitzing. Devin White blitzing the A-gap. We saw it against the Raiders. When's the last time we've seen Devin White successfully blitz up the middle? I don't think they've really run it as much. So the team can't really get pressure with 4 without Vita Vea. It's just, quarterbacks can easily step up in the pocket. And the loss of Vita Vea, I think we talked about how much it's going to hurt. And I think we still underestimated how much the loss of Vita Vea hurt because there's just no interior pressure whatsoever. So, there's only so much you can do schematically with, I think they're putting Jamel Dean's not playing. So who's the backup? I can't remember.
Ross Cochran.
Ross, yeah. So, I mean, there's only so much you can do schematically to help him out,
Do you have faith in this young secondary, which is, gotten their fair share of heat with Sean Murphy Bunting? Of course, Carlton Davis, I think, is probably the best corner on on this team, but do you have faith in Sean Murphy Bunting and Cockrell to get it done versus the Chiefs, who have weapons in a Tyreek Hill, of course, a McCole Hardman and Robinson, and of course, you have to worry about Travis Kelce as a tight end. I mean, can they get it done?
I am not a fan of Sean Murphy Bunting anymore. I don't think he can play, honestly. He looks slow. Sometimes he's in position. He has zero ball skills, and it just doesn't seem to click. I know he had a couple of good plays here and there, but Ross Cockrell actually made an impact play when he was in the game last week. I think they were running a screen. He had a 5-yard loss. So even Carlton Davis, what are they going to match him up against Tyreek Hill? He does not have the speed to match with Tyreek Hill. So I think that the Chiefs are going to put up points. The only way the Buccaneers win this game is they have to win in a shootout, and that's it. The offense has to put up 35, 38, 40 points, or it's just not going to happen. I don't know how you're going to shut down Patrick Mahomes. The only team to do it is the Raiders, and they played a perfect game last week and still lost. So, I think you have to keep Mahomes in the pocket too. If you let him kind of just do his ad hoc Russell Wilson stuff, you're going to get destroyed. You have to force him to make reads where he's still good, but I think he's less effective. We've all seen Russell Wilson and Mahomes just run out of the pocket and throw a 50-yard bomb down the field. I think they're actually better when they have to, kind of make chicken salad out of chicken, So
Yeah,
keep him in the pocket and force him to make a decision.
Yeah, and I mean, I would expect them, and I was talking to somebody off air about this, to quarterback spy him with possibly White or Levante David, because they are so fast and so quick that you don't want him to get outside of the pocket, because when he does get outside of the pocket and try to make plays, then that's when bad stuff happens, and that's what you saw against the Raiders, especially on that last drive. He gets out of the pocket, defenders start to commit to try to come up, and then what happens? Basically, he throws to Kelce, who's wide open in the end.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was Jonathan Abrams who, on the last play for the Raiders and the Chiefs, he committed so hard to get Mahomes, and Kelce was just wide open. So if you play man, you're definitely more susceptible. I mean, you cannot run man and not have a spy, because the corners and defensive backs are going to have their backs to the ball, and they're not going to be able to, react until Mahomes is 10, 12, 13 yards deep. So I'd like to see Devin White on a spy when they're in man, and when they're in zone, it's going to be tough because, you're playing Tampa 2, cover 4, whatever it is, you're dropping linebackers back 10 yards. So the soft zone's annoying. I'd like to see them play a little bit more in like shallow flats. They play so far back sometimes. But I don't expect it to change. I mean, especially against the Chiefs. I don't think they're going to be so terrified of Tyreek Hill. They're going to be playing soft zone the whole game.
In your opinion, why has that taken place lately? The obvious thing the talent is there with the teams, but is that lack of confidence in your players where you've seen so much from Sean Murphy Bunting and Jamel Dean where they've blown coverages and basically they're looking at the quarterback and looking in the backfield, that now you're not going to play man-to-man because you don't have confidence in those players? Could that be it?
I think it's a little bit of a confidence issue with the corners. The game plan against, I'm trying to think who it was. I think it was the Saints the second time, where I think it was Todd Bowles or Bruce Arians publicly admitted, we thought we were going to get pressure with 4 and we'd be fine in zone. And I was just thinking, you haven't been able to get pressure with 4 since Vita Vea has gone out. What makes you think you're going to get pressure with 4 against one of the best offensive lines in football in the New Orleans Saints? So I think it's a little bit of a lack of trust, and in the corners specifically. And I think they want to just manage the game on defense, which I hate that strategy, but I think their thought process is if we can hold them to 3 points, we have this explosive offense, we can go down and score points at will, and, we can just take control from there. And the offense hasn't clicked, so it's not working. I wish, what happened to the defense that played Green Bay? Just constantly going at Aaron Rodgers. He got destroyed the entire game, constantly blitzing. Sue got home. I think JPP had a sack. Shaq Barrett had a sack. And, they got pressure with 4, and, Green Bay's offensive line isn't good, but the Raiders' offensive line had COVID. They were throwing backups in there. The Rams, their left tackle went down for the year. That was a backup. So it's a little bit frustrating for, Jason Pierre-Paul and Shaq Barrett to not be able to get pressure in one-on-one situations against backup tackles, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, Shaq's numbers are down, of course. He's still gotten the pressure, but really not getting the numbers. Do you think that this defensive coaching staff can scheme to where they can get him spots where he's able to get free, or is this just what you're going to run with at this point? And you just hope that eventually they can get to the quarterback.
I mean, I'm so sick of them dropping JPP. He got two interceptions. Fine.
Right.
They drop Ndamukong Suh, Will Golston, Shaq Barrett, JPP into coverage so often. It's so infuriating. These guys get destroyed against running backs. And I mean, it's a given. Why they're not going to be able to cover running backs? They're pass rushers. Why are you dropping them into zone? I get it if you want to do it twice a game to give the offense a different look, but these guys are dropping into coverage 10 to 15 times a game. It's ridiculous. So, and I think a lot of it going back to Vita Vea, he creates pressure up the middle and the quarterback tries to escape, on the outside, on the backside there where they fall right in the arms of Shaq Barrett. So, I think Vita Vea is such a key member that is just missing on this defense because since he's been out, the defensive, statistics have been down, efficiency has been down. I think they've played okay here and there. They've gotten turnover splash plays, but against the Rams, it was way too easy.
Yeah, I mean, what do you see with this Bucs offense? Let me ask you this. Do you think they're archaic in a way?
No, absolutely. Their run scheme is like from 1965. We'll just power rush it up the middle, and then we'll power rush it up the right and up the left. They don't run any creative blocking schemes. They do. I mean, obviously they do a little bit, but a lot of times they just run a power offense with two tight ends, and these tackles and guards are not made for a power offense. You've drafted Tristan Wirfs, who admittedly is, I guess he fits a little bit more to the mold of a power offense, but Ali Marpet certainly does not. Donovan Smith certainly does not. I think Jensen, while he is sort of, that bully up front, I think he's more of a finesse player where you run sort of a zone offense. They don't really, mix it up much. Even the passing schemes, where's the motion? Where it seems like they just run four verts sometimes. They run four verts or sort of not four verts, two verts down the seam, and then they do the two outside guys on a hook. They run that play so often, and it's a really basic scheme. And if no one's open, then you're screwed. You got to throw it away. There's no safety valve, and I'm really kind of just sick of the offensive scheme, to be honest. It works against bad teams because those teams are bad. The Panthers' defensive line is atrocious. You can run all day against them. It's just hat-on-a-hat football, and I think that's what this coaching staff wants to do, but it doesn't work against good teams. You need to scheme to your players' strengths and not scheme to where if they don't execute at 100%, then it's all going to fall apart.
Yeah, I'm just kind of wondering, you kind of adjust your offense, and we talked about the philosophies. You hear Coach Arians this week talk about Tom Brady calling his own plays, and I just feel like there's too many voices there. You have Brady, I get it. He wants to have some say in the offense, and as he should, but if those plays are not working that he's calling, then I think eventually Bruce Arians basically has to sit him down and say, you know what, you can't change this play. This is the reason why we're calling it, and you have to go with that. Or you have to scheme to where Brady is where his bread and butter is, and if you do that, your running backs have to catch the ball.
It's so bad. The running backs are so bad, and I think Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones are the worst pass catching running back duo in the league, and it's not even close. Even statistically, you don't even need the statistics to know that. But we all harped on LaShawn McCoy. Bring him back because he's better than what they're doing. Where's Keyshawn Vaughn? I get he fumbled in the Bears game, but he got destroyed. It wasn't, like a Zeke Elliott fumble where he's diving forward and just loses it. So I really want to see those guys back in passing downs. And it's got to be it has to be a top priority in the draft or free agency. They need a pass catching running back so badly because without it, Brady has no safety valve. There's no safety valve in this offense at all besides the running back, and they don't catch. So it is what it is.
Let me ask you, what's holding this team back more? Because a lot of fans have criticized that you're giving a Brady a break. And I've said, look, I've criticized him. He's not a good quarterback. He hasn't been a good quarterback the last game. He's had his bad games. But what's holding them back more? Is it Tom Brady or is it the coaching, namely Bruce Arians?
If I had to pick one, I would say Bruce Arians. The The system's archaic. The play calling I don't like. And that all falls on Bruce Arians. I know Leftwich calls the plays, but Bruce Arians has the say over, the scheme and the game plan going into Sunday. And you're not playing to Brady's strengths. I don't understand it. It worked at the beginning of the year with Scotty Miller, and then you sign Antonio Brown and phase him completely out of the offense, and you wonder why Brady can't hit a deep ball because you're scheming Cam Brate down the field. And it falls on Brady too. You can't have Mike Evans in a one-on-one situation and throw it out of bounds. You can't do that to Chris Godwin either. You have to let these guys get a play on the ball. So, it's a little bit of both. I'd say probably 75% coaching staff, 25% Brady.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. Let me go ahead and go out to the web heads or read some of these comments, and then we'll get back to it. We're on with Nitro Nick Citro, our social media director here of Bucs Report. Open phone line if you got a question. 727-255-0391 at 727-255-0391. All right. So let's see. We read that one. Marpet needs to clear protocol by tomorrow. So, again, we'll keep you updated on that situation. We read from Eugene Thomas, running to the right. We said we're live. Edward, look, Brady will get better. He's the GOAT. I don't think anyone but the haters need to worry about that. Nitro Nick says Eugene. Christopher Cole, Nitro Nick is back on the sports web. See, they all missed you here. The web had no adjustments whatsoever. The Bucs have been out-coached the last 3 weeks. Agree with that?
Absolutely. And I said it on Twitter before the Rams game and got attacked a little bit. And what happened? Sean McVay completely out-schemed them. And I'll just say this, too, while we're completely complaining about this team. They're 7-4 for the first time in how long? I don't know what it is. But last year they were 4-7. I think they were 2-6 at one point. They won 2 out of the last 3. And we were talking about the draft, in November and October, like we usually do in Halloween. So, honestly, I'm just happy we're talking about a team that's going to make the playoffs for the first time since 2008 or 2007, whichever one it was.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it was 2008. Maybe it was 2007.
I think it was 07, 08 year. I can't remember.
Will McCoy ever see the field again? If not, then why not roster Vaughn? I mean, that's a great question. Vaughn was not active last game versus the Rams. Could you see more of Vaughn?
I hope so.
McCoy?
I mean, Bruce Arians said, hopefully we find a way to put him on the field. And I was like, dude, you control that. Put him on the damn field. Get Kenyon Barner out of the 53-man roster. Put Antonio Brown back there, and you free up a spot. As it relates to LaShawn McCoy, Bruce Arians, he doesn't like you if you can't pass block. And LaShawn McCoy is horrific at pass blocking. He almost got Brady killed against the Saints, and I believe there was a game after that. I can't remember what it was. Maybe the Panthers game. So I'd like to see him on the field if he's going to go out for a pass. I know that makes it a little bit obvious, but I think you can do it against the Chiefs. They don't have a lot of tape on him. And Vaughn, I mean, they need to do something with these pass-catching running backs because it's so bad. You cannot have Tom Brady throw a dinky dunk 4-yard pass and have it dropped, and now you're in 3rd and 10, and now you have to punt. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I know. And you're trying to run on first down, or you're not running on first down, passing it. I mean, it's just there's so much inconsistency here with the offense. You look at LaShawn McCoy, and you thought he would be more involved in this offense, and now playing his former team in the Chiefs, you think that he would definitely have some extra motivation. So it'll be interesting to see if they can incorporate him in the offense because whatever they're doing, Fournette, sure-handed guy drops 3. That's not going to get it done. You only get to Jones 10 times. That's not going to get it done. And I keep on harping on it. When are the Bucs going to realize that you have to have balance to your offense? Now, look, I can see if you're down 21 points or something like that, and basically you're forced to pass. But if you're in a game, Nick, you've got to have balance, especially incorporating that run game because you've been successful with doing it.
I don't want to see, I know I'm not really kind of going off of what you just said, but I don't want to see another screen to Ronald Jones or Leonard Fournette for the rest of the season. It is the most inefficient offensive play they've run by far. If they even catch the ball, first of all, then it's a whole nother story if they drop it. But when they actually catch it, I think these screens go for 3 to 4 yards. They're just the offensive line does not know how to set up. These running backs cannot make anyone miss in space. I mean, we saw Ronald Jones, I think it was against the Bears game, where he just all of a sudden learned how to do a spin move. He was juking people linebackers down the middle, and the Bears have good linebackers. And where did that go? These guys just can't make anyone miss in space, especially outside the numbers. That's why I think you need LaShawn McCoy and Vaughn back. There's no other answer.
Yeah, no, I agree. Let's see here. Jimmy says Brady gets a pass because he can only do so much with an inconsistent line and questionable play calling. The Bucs will win 38-24. I like it, Jimmy. Good stuff. You can play man zone. There's no reason to play 7.
That's true.
12
That's true. A lot of times teams will play zone on one side and man on the other, but I don't know if Todd Bowles trusts his corners enough to do that. So
that's what I think it comes down to. I mean, what changed? Ever since Jamel Dean had the pick 6, now it seems like he's trying to take more chances. And look, you can't have a pick 6 every play. We all know that, but you're taking chances. You're looking. I mean, what do you see with this young backfill? What are they doing wrong that they need to correct? And Nick, in your opinion, why do they have so many communication breakdowns?
I mean, you don't even have to watch the All-22 to see the communication breakdowns. We've seen it for years where, you just on the broadcast feed watching it live, you see Levante David screaming at somebody to get on Darren Waller in the Raiders game, and there's no one there, so he has to rush over, cover him, and it's an easy slant because Levante David, he's not the best man defender. I think he's really, really good in zone, but we saw against the Rams game, Devin White screaming, looking back at the safeties. There's like 2 seconds on the play clock. No one knows what's going on. Another 8-10 yard gain. So, if you watch the All-22, it's a lot of kind of just basic fundamental stuff where they're not passing off guys in the zone like they should be, or they're doing it too late, or frankly, they're just not fast enough. Their processing speed is not quick enough to notice a guy in their zone, cover it, or come back, or whatever it is. We saw Jordan Whitehead make a really nice play when I think he was in a cover 2, and he just steamrolled up front to get that pick against Jared Goff. I mean, we've seen it here and there, but it's just not where it needs to be. I mean, what did Jared Goff complete his first 11 passes? Drew Brees completed his first 12.
Right.
And I think Todd Bowles got figured out a bit where they were essentially every time the Bucs would blitz, they would just max protect and it wouldn't get home at all. And then you can't expect your corners to do anything if you blitz and you're in man. You just can't. If you give the quarterback 3 seconds, it's just a bad situation. So
definitely a bad situation, and you kind of worry about that versus the Chiefs on Sunday with Patrick Mahomes because you all know he can get time. He can pick you apart. He really can, and we'll see. So Misador says Edwards will see more playing time this week than Cockrell, I believe.
Maybe. Yeah, I like to see that. You put Edwards in, and then you put oh boy, his name is completely escaping me. Rookie safety.
Antoine.
You know what I'm talking about. Antoine Winfield. Thank you. You put him in the slot. I'd like to see that, but we'll see. I think Cockrell's going to get playing time because there's no one else behind him. So
yeah, there really isn't because Jamel Dean is going to miss the game. That was the news today on the injury front. Not the best news for Donovan Smith. He hasn't practiced all week, and you have Ali Marpet.
That's bizarre. He finished the game and then he didn't practice at all. So I don't know.
This whole season is bizarre. I mean, it's
that's true.
bizarro land with the injuries and COVID and all the garbage. If we could just push reset, it would be nice, But of course, that's in Madden. And we're on with Nitro Citro here, the social media director of Bucs Report on Twitter. Of course, it's the Sports Web, the evolution of sports talk, powered by 320solar.com. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Vaughn wasn't active for the last game. Agree with that. Misador says Edward Gross. Yep, that's my point. Jimmy says, Nick, you're wrong about Murphy.
We'll see. I hope I'm wrong. Whenever I say something negative about a team, I don't want to be right, but it's just what I'm seeing. I hope he flips the switch and it's better. But the past 4 games, he hasn't looked great. So
no, he definitely hasn't. KC is great, but all we got to do is get past distributed by the.
I think you're saying Patrick Mahomes disturbed by the defensive line. He will panic.
He will panic.
I don't know. Patrick Mahomes is he's like Russell Wilson. He can, he'll roll out of the pocket under pressure and just throw a dime 40 yards downfield. So the offense is going to have to put up points or it's not going to be close. They have to basically score on every possession like the Panthers game, which I think they can do. I think it's possible against this defense.
Sure, of course it is. I mean, we'll talk more about that in a moment. I think KC can be had. Great show, says Eugene Thomas. Thank you very much. Trey Salvatore, Nick Citro, the GOAT. Tim says either AB or Scotty Miller should be returning.
I've seen enough of Barner. He's nothing special. I don't know why. I hate how coaches are afraid of putting your players back there that are, your star players. I don't care. Put AB back there to field punts. Put Scotty Miller. That you need to get the hidden yards. I think the Saints, I don't know what his name is, but you watch Saints games. Next time you watch a Saints game, watch the kick return and punt returns. This guy's getting 20, 25, 30 yards a return, and they're starting at the 40-yard line half the time for punts that land on the 10. So it just makes the offense, it makes it a lot easier on the offense.
Absolutely. Do you think Antonio Brown has destroyed this offense?
No. No. It has nothing to do with Antonio Brown. I was really annoyed with Scotty Miller not getting touches, but the coaching staff came out and said he was hurt, so I'll give him a pass on that one. I'll say the fact. So he didn't destroy the offense against the Saints. The coaching staff destroyed the offense against the Saints because they decided to just play 5 wide receivers and get Brady decimated the whole game. I mean, that's not Antonio Brown's fault. That's the coaching staff's, with the stupid scheme. So, they tried different things with him. They went back to what worked against the Panthers. They lost by 3 points against the Rams, who are now the number 2 seed in the NFC right now. They're one of the best teams in football. They lost by 3 points in a game they didn't play well. So I think I've just been harping that all week. No, Antonio Brown did not destroy this offense.
So going to Scotty Miller, that's definitely changed the offense in your opinion. Do you think that they should try to find Scott?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, obviously, if he's not healthy, of course you can't go to him. But if he's healthy, you've got to find a way to incorporate him more into this offense, right?
The deep balls worked with him. I mean, we saw it against the Packers. We saw it against the first game against the Panthers. We saw it against the Raiders. And I think they haven't run a lot of sweeps with him or really those like gadget Scotty Miller plays. So I believe them when they say he was injured because there's no reason why you can't give him 2 to 3 touches a game with those types of sweeps. So I think you need to get Scotty Miller more involved. I hope they do it. It's not going to be, he's not going to get the same amount of snaps, but I hope he gets 4, 5, 6 targets, maybe one of them deep because it works.
It does work. Let's see. So let's see. The problem is play calling. Just go back to the end of last season when we were in position to try to get a win in overtime. I believe they call a throwing play back in their own end zone, and it got picked off. It
was another out route, like on the 10-yard line, picked off. I think was it the first play of the game, wasn't it?
Yes, Deion Jones, I believe, with the interception and the 30 for 30 club, putting Jameis Winston in there. What we need is pressure on the quarterback. I mean, easier said than done with Shaq and JPP. JPP leading this team in sacks. How surprised are you with that, with JPP leading this team instead of a Shaq Barrett?
I'm not surprised at all. I think that was actually one of my, I don't know if it's that much of a hot take, but I said JPP would lead the team in sacks at the beginning of the season. I think I said 12.5. What is he at right now? 6 or 7?
Yeah, 7.5.
7. So I think he could easily get that 12.5 mark. We saw him come in against the Titans and just absolutely explode the last few games of the season. He went to the offseason healthy, came in 2020, and I don't think it should be a surprise to anyone to see how much he's dominated. Maybe with the 2 interceptions in back-to-back games, I definitely didn't see that. But the sack production, I mean, JPP's been a monster since he's gotten here.
Yeah, really has. It's disappointing that you're without a Vita Vea because he's a big-time impact, and you could see how much he means to this defensive line. Nothing against Steve McClendon or Nacho, but they're just not, the same as a Vita Vea. They're just not.
Yeah, they're okay with run stopping ability, but they don't get any pressure up the middle on the quarterback like Vita Vea could. Vita Vea would get double teamed and still get pressure. So yeah, it really sucks, but
it does. It does. All right. So we read that. Rodney says defense needs to wrap and tackle. They will get the stop. I mean, one of the most disappointing things of that game, not only both of those wide receivers going off, but how much yak they had because of just simple missed tackles where this Bucs defense, if you're going to be number 1 in the league, you got to wrap and tackle. And they didn't do that. Can they correct that versus the Chiefs?
I mean, I wouldn't count on it against the Chiefs. Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp are known for yak. I mean, those guys are shifty players, and it's hard to take them down. I mean, you're not going to be able to tackle Tyreek Hill easily. I think, Gronky should be able to tackle easily. He's just a big dude. Sammy Watkins is more shifty than you think. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, good back. I think tackling is going to be another issue this week, honestly, with how good Kansas City's weapons are. They do a ton of motion with Tyreek Hill. They're probably going to use Demarcus Robinson, who's fast. They just have a ton of fast players, more so than the Rams. And, I wouldn't be surprised if it continued this week. And that's no real indictment on the Bucs defense. It's just those offenses are built for yards after the catch.
Yeah, but if you want to be one of the top defenses in the league, you've got to tackle and you be more physical. And I think also that's another key is you got to be physical with those guys. I don't know how fast they are. If you're physical with fast guys, we've seen it in the past with Bucs defenses, you could basically stifle them. So
yeah, I want to see Carlton Davis get his hands on Tyreek Hill because he tends to get really frustrated when you play press on him. And you got to give him help over the top. If put a safety, put Winfield, bracket him on that side. I know that's going to open up Travis Kelce. You can't stop everyone, but if I'm going to pick one player, it's going to be Tyreek Hill. I'm not letting him beat me deep. I don't know who to put on. Not Gronk, Travis Kelce. You're going to put Whitehead on him, Devin White, Levante David. None of those guys really match up well at man against Kelce. So, I think you take away Tyreek Hill, and then you do the best you can against everyone else.
Maybe a Mike Edwards. I don't know.
But yeah, you can't really match up against him. He's easily the best tight end in the league, maybe besides Kittle, who's been hurt. So,
right.
I would probably give Whitehead the shot in man. In zone, he's not very good, but in man, he'll be physical with Kelce. And I think that might, frustrate him a little bit. And if it doesn't work, just move to the next guy. There's no reason why you can't make a mid-game adjustment.
Agree. Good stuff, Nick. Let's see here. So Tim says Jared Goff had more tackles than Aaron Donald. How surprised were you? A really good job by this offensive line. They got some pressure later on, only one sack. And we looked at it, Brady, when you get one sack or fewer, he's 7-0. Now he's 7-1. So that really wasn't a big stat in the game. Aaron Donald was shut out, but they still got pressure. So how surprised were you with that offensive line and the injuries they had, basically dominating Aaron Donald in that game?
Going into the game, I thought we would have Ali Marpet. And if we had Marpet, I wouldn't have been surprised at all, just given in 2019, I don't think he recorded a sack. Maybe he had a few tackles, but they basically shut down Aaron Donald last year.
Yeah.
I was a little bit surprised that he had no stats whatsoever. I thought he would probably get a few tackles up the middle, but honestly, I wouldn't have been surprised if he didn't get any sacks because, look what this offensive line did against the Panthers the week before. Granted, it's a much weaker Panthers defensive line, but for some reason, Todd Bowles knows how to scheme against Aaron Donald, and he's done it twice already. So.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. He's done a good job with that. So that's a good thing. But you have this week Chris Jones and Frank Clark. How do you see the defense matching up versus this Bucs offense? Again, Jones getting paid big money. Clark, he's had a past of getting after it. But this defense could be an Achilles heel for this Chiefs team, right?
You cannot run up the middle like they did against the Rams and think it's going to work. You obviously have to do it a few times here and there, but I'd like to see the majority of their running plays off tackle on Tristan Wirf's side. Donovan Smith is actually good when he's pulling, surprisingly. He's really bad everywhere else, but when he's pulling to the left or the right, he's actually really good. So I'd like to see more of that. You're going to have to run on the left. You can't just continually run on the same side or you're just going to get destroyed. Chris Jones, he's an absolute savage up the middle. I think if they bash their heads up against the wall and continue to run up the A gap, it's not going to be a pretty day for running backs. So hopefully they learn their lesson and they do more stretch zones to the right, to the left, even do some pulling with the tackles, guards, whatever you got to do. Just if you do this hat on a hat football, like we're tougher, more physical than you, it's just not going to work.
Yeah, no, it definitely may not work against the Chiefs. We talked about the running back situation. You were the guy before the season said Clyde Edwards-Helaire. How impressed are you with him in this offense? What do they do that a lot of teams can't do with him? And Le'Veon Bell, how much do you think he's going to be incorporated into this offense? A big-time match once again with the Bucs rushing defense versus these running backs on Sunday.
Le'Veon Bell hasn't looked great. He looked bad against the Jets, or when he was with the Jets, and I think everyone thought it was an Adam Gase thing. And he went to the Chiefs. He hasn't gotten a ton of touches. It's some here and there, and he really hasn't looked that good. So I'm not worried about Le'Veon Bell. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, his talent matched with this offense was, I mean, if you drafted him in fantasy, it was just kind of a dream scenario. So they have so many weapons that you just cannot focus on the running back. I mean, you have to guard Sammy Watkins, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill. They have really creative running schemes. They use running back screens. They do all sorts of routes with them. They'll line them up outside, do Texas routes where linebackers on the Bucs have notoriously been burnt by. And, they have a creative offense where they can use his talent. And I would be much more worried about Clyde Edwards-Helaire than Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell, he hasn't looked good at all.
Yeah, he hasn't looked good at all, and he hasn't looked good since he left that Steelers offense. So
Adam Gase ruins everyone. I think that's really
pretty much
the key.
All right, let's see here. You guys can bring on Bruce on. You can bring Bruce on the show? Sorry, I can't edit that for some reason. He's asking Bruce Arians on the show. I'm not sure.
Let's get him on here.
Yeah, let's get him on. Let's ask him all kinds of questions about his offense and have him basically get off. I agree, Nick. We lost by 3 while we played bad, and the Rams had to play real good to win the game. Had we played like we did against the Packers or Raiders, I'd really be worried. Jimmy says, you think you can get Bruce on the show? Okay. What's your thoughts on the Ravens COVID situation, that getting out of control? In fact, the NFL has decided to move that game to Tuesday night football, ladies and gentlemen. Who doesn't want that? Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Baltimore Ravens, and also Lamar Jackson having COVID now. To me, the Ravens are toast.
They're stupid. The strength and conditioning coach, I guess, had symptoms and went into the facility anyways, wasn't wearing a mask. Say what you want about wearing a mask, whatever. You shouldn't go into the facility knowing you have symptoms, knowing that if other players get it, they're going to shut it down. So, I mean, they're probably going to get fined. They might lose a draft pick. I know they disciplined that coach, but honestly, if you're going to be that reckless, you kind of deserve it. And the only team that gets screwed now is the Steelers because, they already lost their bye week with the Tennessee fiasco. They were hoping they'd play on Thanksgiving and get that 10-day break, and now they have to play on Sunday. They basically don't get a break. And as a player, not knowing when you're going to play, I can imagine really sucks. Thinking, okay, now we're playing on Sunday. Okay, now we're playing on Tuesday. And then maybe they cancel it completely. So I believe the owners and the NFLPA voted if a game gets canceled, they're going to bring in an extra playoff team. So they're going to have 8 in each conference. I don't know if that's 100% accurate, or I don't know if it's 2 games or 3 games or whatever it is. I thought it was just 1 game.
They were talking something about that. They were doing that a couple weeks ago, so we'll see how that plays out. But in your opinion, do you think the Ravens are toast now? I mean, they
were toast before COVID. They've outplayed teams and lost, and that just is completely demoralizing. I think they outplayed the Steelers. They looked more physical and they looked like the better team. And then Big Ben kind of worked some magic late. The defense, did their thing at the end. So, they were beating the Titans. What was it, 21-10, and they just fell apart. I think this is sort of the nail in the coffin for them. They're done. It's over.
Yeah, it's pretty much over. And all the moves they made in the offseason. I was talking to Evan Winter about this, looking into the crystal ball. Let's say the Bucs do lose to the Chiefs. They go 7-5. They have to basically run the table or at least win most of your games. But let's say the Bucs don't make the playoffs. Could you see wholesale changes happening to this team, or do the Blazers not panic because of what happened with COVID and because basically you have another year of Tom Brady?
I mean, I think they're going to make – I think it would have to be a catastrophic meltdown for them not to make the playoffs, looking at the schedule where you've got Minnesota, who just lost to the Cowboys a week ago.
Awful.
The Falcons, the Lions, who couldn't score a point against the Panthers, and you got the Falcons again. So you lose you lose against the Chiefs. And they also had P.J. Walker in at quarterback. I mean, I think he had some good plays. He looked good. His arm strength looked solid. But, I mean, you score 0 points against the Panthers after the Bucs put what was it, 40-38 or something? I don't even remember. But I don't even think that scenario happens. So I'm not even going to answer your question because they're going to make the playoffs.
Well, people are trying to convince me that the Falcons are
No.
going to fight because the Bucs always have difficulty. I'm trying to
Okay, let's say they lose one game. What are they, 9-7?
Well,
They'll still make the playoffs.
They'd be 10-6, and
Whatever.
Right, and well, your numbers kind of count here, but the Falcons are god awful. You should sweep them.
Yeah, you should.
They're a
You
terrible
should.
defense. They're terrible. I'll tell you right now, Matt Ryan has regressed.
He's
That offensive line is a turnstile. And if you need proof of that, you look at the Saints game. They had 8 sacks in that game.
I mean, the Saints defensive line is incredibly underrated, though. I mean, they've harassed the Bucs the last 2 times they played. You know, let's say you go into Kansas City and lose, or Kansas City comes here, whatever. You're 7-5. You know, you should win out. You go 11-5. If you don't, you're 10-6. 10-6 is going to make the playoffs in the NFC. You know, division games can be weird. You know, maybe you lose one. I don't think it would be end of the world if they lost one against the Falcons. I really don't.
All right, so let's go back out to the webheads and we'll get you out of here. Our Nitro Nick Citro, our media analytical analyst here on.
I don't have an official title.
Yeah, social media director, whatever he wants to be, he can be it. He's Nitro Nick Citro on the sports web. Nick, you said Todd Bowles is one.
Whatever, I meant Bruce Arians.
We know what he meant there, Tim. All right, I don't think the Chiefs get over 80 yards of total rushing. To me, they can't, because if they do, they're basically doing whatever they want to. And if you can do whatever you want to a team that's 300 yards of passing, and that possibly could be 200 yards of rushing, it would be a long day for the Bucs.
Yeah, I mean, if I was betting an over-under at 80 yards, I'd probably go under, just based on how much Kansas City throws and how successful they are at it. So, you know, the Bucs defensive line's still really good at stopping the run without Vita Vea. I think, you know, I don't think 80 yards should be a problem for them.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. But, you know, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is, you know, difficult to defend. Of course, you talk about Le'Veon Bell, so it'll be interesting to see how the Bucs defend this offense overall. Let's see here. Jimmy James says, love this show. Appreciate you, buddy. And also, Matt Ryan will be a 49er.
That'd be interesting. I'd like to see that, actually.
Well, I mean, to me, it certainly would make sense, right? Or even an Aaron Rodgers who's, you know, having his own difficulty right now. Had a good year, but you would figure that the writing would be on the wall for Rodgers, and Rodgers would want to make his way back to the 49ers because he is a hometown kid, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if his personality with Shanahan would mix, but I think Shanahan's going to want to draft his own guy and probably get a bridge quarterback, kind of like Phillip Rivers and Eason in Indianapolis. So we'll see what they do. But I think when you draft a quarterback and in free agency, basically, if you're up front at least, and you say, you know, we're drafting a kid and you're essentially the bridge guy, you're going to lose a lot of prospects. And I think, you know, guys like Phillip Rivers are okay with that. Will Matt Ryan be? I don't know. I mean, he's still, 34 years old? He's probably got another 4 years left. I don't know if he's going to want to be that bridge guy with that lack of security.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do there in Atlanta. Of course, everybody's kind of watching what the Jets do. They would expect them to, you know, lose every game from here on out. I mean, are they truly tanking for Lawrence? And can they even win one of these games against one of these teams? I'll tell you what, let's go out to Rick. Rick from the cheap seats here. Rick, welcome to the Evolution. You're on with yours truly, along with Nitro Nick Citro here on the Sports Web. What's on your mind?
Hey, long-time listener, first-time caller. This is David Boykin.
Huh? I know who you are. You used to call all the time. Rick from Atlanta, of course. Rick Hughes from the cheap seats and what's cooking in the South. How do you see this game playing out on Sunday versus the Chiefs?
Well, how do I see it playing out? Here's the problem. I don't know, because I don't know whether they're going to have a good game plan or a bad game plan. I mean,
hell, you don't even know what offensive linemen are going to play in this game. Donovan Smith hasn't practiced all week. We hear Ali Marpet has been practicing, but he can't pass the concussion protocol. You lose your center, who is your backup, to basically a career-ending injury. I mean, I don't know what's wrong with this team right now offensively. The line, I don't know. Maybe the line with all the injuries is the problem.
I don't know. That's not the problem. I mean, let's be honest. The problem is the scheme.
Yep.
The problem is that It's the wrong offense for this quarterback.
Yep.
I mean, it doesn't fit this quarterback. It just, I mean, I don't know. I mean, look, if you refuse to run the ball, what do you think's going to happen?
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's what's so frustrating about watching this team over the last couple of years. And you know what's going to happen where they get away from the running game, and there's no reason to do it unless, look, you're getting blown out. You're getting your doors blown out. Then, of course, you're going to pass the ball to try to get yourself back into it. But even then, you have to have some type of balance because you have to keep the defense accountable and also take the pressure off of your quarterback, especially if your offensive line is struggling in those situations, which they've shown at times this year they do. And then you have injuries on top of it. I don't know what you're doing at that point. I really don't.
I don't either. And what I don't understand is why does Arians just refuse to seem to take any responsibility for this team when they struggle?
I don't know.
It's like, it's bizarre. I've never seen a head coach so adverse to saying, you know what, I've got to do a better job.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit blown out of proportion because every single time he criticizes Tom Brady, the media outlets up here near Boston and New York just run wild with it, and it gets published everywhere. So, I mean, you don't really see the stuff where he criticizes himself, Bruce Arians, that is. He definitely doesn't do it as much, but he definitely did it against I think it was the Saints game, the first Saints game, that is. I think he did it in the second Saints game where he basically said that everyone had to be better, including the coaches. So it is annoying. Honestly, I'm getting kind of sick of it, but it's, I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. I think, and then you have the controversy. I think Nesson published the story, which is the major outlet up in Boston, saying that there was some sort of rift. I don't believe anything Nesson says, because they just put out garbage. Since Tom Brady signed with the Bucs, they put out garbage upon garbage upon garbage. Tom Brady is, they basically just shunned the guy away down at Tampa. We don't care that you won 6 rings. Like, just get out of here. You suck. And it just had a bad taste. So
yeah, and that report was from Dan Graziano of ESPN. He was saying there was some supposed type of rift or something going on there. So you just kind of wonder. I mean, you kind of wonder about it. Maybe we're making too much of it, but when your offense continues to struggle and you're doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, that's insanity. So they got to get it turned around. It doesn't matter if the Chiefs are good or bad defensively, which, they're not great defensively at all, and this is a great opportunity. But if you don't have any identity to your team and what you're doing is not working, it doesn't matter what you do. If it's not working, it's just, you're not going to be successful. And that's all to it. Yeah. And you've got to figure out what your identity is.
I don't know that there's any kind of a rift. I don't think that I'm not so much concerned about that. I'm concerned just the simple fact that when you have a scheme and I get the feeling they're just saying, hey, Tom, you're gonna have to fit our scheme.
Yeah.
And
that's wrong. That does not work. That's back to the Lovie Smith days of, Darrelle Revis doesn't work in our defensive system, so we're just going to get rid of him. I mean, I get it. He's $16 million, but how can you not make somebody work in your system as talented as Darrelle Revis? Figure it out. That's why you get paid the big money.
It just seems like then, I mean, if you go out and you get all of these super talented people,
right,
and then say, I'm not going to pay any attention to what you do well. You're going to have to do what I want you to do.
I think
it just doesn't seem like it makes a lot.
The problem is Tom Brady came to Tampa and said, I want to prove that I can run this offense. I have a deep ball and we can put up monster points like we did when I had Randy Moss. I think part of it was Tom Brady wants to be able to do it. And now that it's not working, you obviously have to change it. And it's really not that difficult. You pass short on first down. Now you're 2nd and 6, 2nd and 5. Now you can run or pass. Just play ahead of the sticks. I'm not that smart of a guy. I'm really not. And it's basic stuff. Just play ahead of the sticks. You don't need to throw bombs. Now you're in 2nd and 10. Now you incomplete a pass that's short, and now you're in 3rd and 10, and then it just falls apart from there. So,
well, I don't know who's responsible for the play calling. I don't even care. I just want it to stop.
Well, it's Leftwich. He calls the plays.
Well,
I don't know that he does. I don't know.
Well, I think Brady says, here's a subset of plays that I like, that I want to run this drive, and then Leftwich kind of chooses from there. So, I don't know. They're all to blame, though. It's not one guy's fault. It's all their faults.
It's all their faults.
Tom Brady can't be throwing passes to Cam Brate down the seam double covered. He can't be throwing it to Mike Evans 10 yards out of bounds.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing, Nick. He's the quarterback.
Right.
He's not the head coach. This comes down to the head coach. And I want to be really clear. I don't believe that you need to get rid of Bruce Arians. I'm not one of these people who's like, get rid of Brady, get rid of Arians. I mean,
start Josh Rosen if you lose to the not.
This is the first competing team in a decade.
What are you talking about? Josh Rosen? Really?
Right. He's 7. I mean, first of all, this team is 7-4. Last year they were 4-7. Okay, but to sit there and then choose the 4th string quarterback and be posting, "Hey, we should be starting him," or what do you think? Should we start him if we lose to the Chiefs? I'm like, what?
Quarterback change isn't going to do anything, especially an absolute downgrade on the practice squad.
Well, he literally has not moved in front of Ryan Griffin.
No.
So
is Ryan Griffin even on the team still?
I didn't even know if he was.
Quarterback.
Oh, is he?
Oh, he is.
No.
I didn't even know he was still on the team. I thought he got cut.
Yeah, Blaine Gabbert is there, and then Ryan Griffin is there.
Wow. So
I mean, and Josh Rosen hasn't moved himself off of the practice squad.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, all right, well, now hold on. So anyway, my point, I guess, more than anything is that, look, this coaching staff and this quarterback have brought the team to 7-4.
Mm-hmm.
Last year they were 4-7.
Mm-hmm.
This is an improvement. I will tell you, I don't know how they've managed to make 7-4 feel such a.
I know. It's so weird.
But they have done it, and it's not because it's not the record itself. It's that when they've done it spectacularly.
Mm.
When they've played bad, they've played bad in the limelight spectacularly. So they've made it hurt more than it probably should have.
I mean, they've beaten. I think someone was saying they can't beat good teams. I mean, they beat the Packers. They beat the Raiders, who were 6-3 before they played the Chiefs. I mean, they've beaten 2 good teams right there, and then they lost to 3 against the 2nd seed in the NFC. And then the Saints clearly have their number for whatever reason. So,
all of us know. Every one of us knows, if we were honest, in a moment of honesty, that the Buccaneers could possibly win this game, and the Buccaneers could possibly get their butt kicked in this game.
Yep.
I think it's going to be close. I don't. A lot of people are saying they're going to get destroyed. I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I don't see that happening in there. I don't either.
How do I? I'm at a point where it's like somebody says, well, "What do you think they're going to do?" I have no idea, because if they come out and don't run the ball, if they're if literally you run 5 times a game, 4 times in a game. Okay, that's one offense. If you play the offense that played against Green Bay, it's a whole different offense.
Right.
Also getting the ball, carrying the ball, that's a whole different thing. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't even blame them for the 5 rushes against the Saints, because that game got out of hand. So I think it was 28-0 at the start of the second quarter. I mean,
Nick, how does it happen? It's because
I'm just saying I don't blame them for abandoning the run that early, because I mean they just got pummeled. But the fact is, you let it get to 28-0 is, I mean, the defense choked and the offense couldn't do anything. It was 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, and just
Nick,
touchdowns galore.
That was not the biggest blowout in NFL history at all. And they still ran the ball fewer than ever before.
Yeah, I mean, it's bizarre, but I remember sitting on my couch sophomore year in college getting hyped for a Thursday night football game against the Falcons and the Bucs. And all my buddies are like, oh, yeah, this is going to be a great game. Does anyone remember what the final score of that was?
What was it?
56-7 or something? I mean, I've seen horrific scores.
Well, I remember particular game,
And they ran the ball more than 5 times.
well, you talk about throwing the ball more than you run the ball. You have a win there. I remember a specific game where basically the Bucs have a terrible offensive line, and John Gruden goes in there with Bruce Grakowski in the year and throws it 41 times versus the win and that Giants defense. It made no sense at all. I mean, it's just like one of those things where you're like, what is this coach thinking?
I think the frustration is we all see the potential of this team and how poorly they played against the Rams. They lost by 3 points.
Yeah.
They could have won that game. And then what is the story?
It was literally because of one thing and one. I mean, if they tackled like they usually do, they would have won the game.
So you don't turn over the ball.
You have to change.
Right.
I looked at my dad and said, I don't know how they're not losing by 20 because it felt like they were getting destroyed and it was a 7-point game.
Well, their defense kept them.
That's what I was saying.
Right.
That's exactly what I was saying is I don't understand how this team is doing it, but they're making us. I mean, they really are giving the people watching the game. It's even when they like if they win or almost win, it just feels awful.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, I think the story would have been
you don't feel good about it.
I think the story would have been a good team, still wins when they play poorly, and JPP's the hero, and they gutted it out, and the storylines would not have been the same. We would absolutely not be talking about how poorly they played if they were sitting at 8-2 right now.
I hate to say this, but look, you got Tom Brady for a reason. 47 career fourth quarter comebacks, and these 2 times when he's had the opportunity on prime time, he's not been able.
I don't understand that. I mean,
that to me just shows you 2020 is a bizarro year because any other given year, you give the ball back to Tom Brady, and that's the inability of the offense. And we talked to Leo Haggerty before, the legend himself. He said, look, Tom Brady got greedy on that. Why is he trying to do so much? And I think we're in uncharted waters here where a quarterback is trying to prove so much that he's not washed up. And I don't think he is. Look, has he lost? He's lost a little bit. Yes, maybe he's not the quarterback 5 years ago, but he's trying to do so much for this team, and this offensive staff is not giving him the help, and they're putting him in precarious situations. Leo word of where he has to do so much. So I think what you have to do what you always do. You have to find an identity to it, and the identity for me for this team is running the ball, taking the pressure off of a Tom Brady, and once you do that, and you're able to accomplish that, I think defenses have to account for that. And then that's where the pass play action opens up, things in your playbook start to open up because the defense doesn't know what you're doing. But if they know what you're doing and you're one dimensional, you're dead. You're done.
Well, that's exactly what I was saying about the fact that they ran that the offense ran motion 6 times.
6 times.
7 plays.
Right.
Yeah, I don't understand that whatsoever.
I mean, you don't even try to disguise what you're doing.
Yeah.
You don't. I mean, the only time they tried to disguise anything, and this to me is just bizarre, is when they ran play action pass when they weren't running the ball ever.
Right.
So I mean, it's just it's bizarre. It just seems like somebody's just not. It's like they're not even thinking. They're just like it literally feels like you're just like randomly drawing plays out.
Yeah.
I mean,
I got to read this comment from Tim here, guys. The team has been too bipolar. It's hard to make any type of prediction. I agree. He's kind of told us that in the spring when he said it's easier for one guy to learn a system than it is for the whole team to learn a new system. That's a great point. And then that's one of the things you have to focus on is that Brady coming in here was going to learn Coach Arians' system. So in your opinion, both of you here, do you feel like Tom Brady is going to fit this system? Or basically, is this going to eventually fail unless he gets that time in the offseason and possibly he's going to be coming back next season where he'll be more successful than this year?
I think we have evidence that it can work because we saw it work against teams that were pretty good in the Packers and the Raiders. They run the same scheme against the Panthers and they destroyed them. They beat them week 2. They destroyed the Broncos. They've had success in the system. They've won 7 games in the system. I think it can work. They just have to make a few tweaks here and there. Now, I'm not saying I like it. I'd much prefer them to dink and dunk it down the field, but I think it can work with Tom Brady.
And what about you, Rick?
Traditionally, Bruce Arians quarterbacks do much better in the second year. Having said that, do I think it can work? Here's what I don't think will work. Okay, I just this is the part that just kills me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I like Arians. I like Arians. I like Brady. I mean, it just seems like you're trying to ask somebody to do something that it just doesn't fit their skill set, and it to me that throws everything out. You throw everything out the window. Look, Carson Palmer's skill set fit Bruce Arians. Peyton Manning fit Bruce Arians' skill set. Even when you go back to Big Ben, his skill set fit Arians. Tom Brady's skill set is different than all of those other guys.
Yeah.
And that concerns me because I don't see Arians saying, "Hey, let's make this work. Well, let's take your strengths and look at the people we have on this team." Instead, let's just. I mean,
risk it, no biscuit. I mean, that's what it is. Risk it, no biscuit.
Running back after running back after running back, only to not run the ball.
No idea. No idea.
I get it, LaShawn McCoy. There's a reason he sat down after one or two games in Kansas City. Same thing here because he's atrocious blocking. He's not bad. He's atrocious blocking.
Yeah.
So I get it, especially with a hurt offensive line. You almost can't play him.
Yeah.
I don't know about Vaughn, but I don't know about Vaughn because I haven't had a chance to know anything about Vaughn. But Tom Brady. When you think about Tom Brady's success, is dumping the ball off to the running back.
Right.
And to say, don't say that Fournette can't catch because he had one bad game.
Right. I mean, he's at 76 last year, 76 catches last year. So he's proved that he can catch the ball.
Yes. So to say, this is the worst running back duo, Nick,
they are easily the worst pass catching running back duo in the NFL. I don't think it's very close.
I don't agree with that, only in the sense that we haven't seen Fournette doing this. I mean, he comes in one game after not playing for like 3 games straight. He comes in and he struggled a little bit. Let the guy get his legs underneath him. If we, you can run more than one running back, and it doesn't have to be. You can still keep Rojo carrying the bulk of the carries, but it's not. It just wouldn't be a normal thing to have a third down back to have Fournette in there to be an outlet to catch the ball.
I mean, they just don't have a prototypical James White, Naheem Hines, like pass catching. They don't have a guy like that. That's not who Leonard Fournette is. Can he catch the ball? Sure, but he's not. He's not going to make anyone miss in space on the outside the numbers. So
I don't understand you saying that about Fournette though, because for years that's what he's known for.
But are you going to tell me he's the same type of back as a James White? That's not his. That's not who he is at all. I get they can both catch, but James White can make people miss in space. He's elusive. Leonard Fournette's not that guy.
No, I agree with you. He's a battering ram for being elusive. But as far as catching the ball out of the backfield, he's absolutely that kind of guy.
I disagree, but
he can't be that kind of guy, but he definitely was not that kind of guy. So we'll see going forward what he does and what Ronald Jones. I definitely think they're going to have to incorporate. Let me go ahead and fire those cannons for Mr. Rick Hughes. Rick, go ahead and promote yourself because we're going to get you out of here. From the cheap seats and what's cooking in the South. Tell everybody about that if they don't know.
Should be tomorrow night. It's probably going to be a short show tomorrow night, probably starting around, I'm going to guess, about 10:30. And it'll only go for probably an hour or so. But we'll have a good night tomorrow night previewing the Chiefs game.
Sounds good, buddy. There you go. Rick Hughes from the cheap seats. What's cooking in the South? Thanks a lot for your time, boss. All right?
Have a great night. Thanks for having me, bro.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure. And go ahead. Let me get you out of here, Nick Citro.
I'm trying to find a running back. I'm trying to find a stat I had before. I can't find it, but essentially, I think it was the running backs had the same amount of drops as the other skill position players, and they had like 200 less, targets, or I can't remember what it was. I think Greg Allman posted it, but I don't know. I don't really agree with Leonard Fournette is an average pass catching running back. I think he had a bad game, and it just is what it is. But these guys don't make anyone miss in space. That's what James White, Naheem Hines, LaShawn McCoy in his prime. That's what those guys do. So we'll see.
Yep, good stuff. All right, Nick Citro, go ahead and promote yourself. Where can they follow you on Twitter and conversate with you back and forth?
Yeah. So on Twitter at Nick Citro. I've had a lot of people, DMing me back and forth about certain things. If you ever want to talk Bucs football in general, DMs are always open. And I think Keys of the Game, if it's not posted, should be posted pretty soon. I usually do that article every week. Obviously, everything on bucksport.com. So
there you go, Mr. Nick Citro, our analytical analyzer, if you will, our social media guru here.
I like that. Yeah, let's go with that one.
Like that one. All right. Thanks a lot for joining me here. Thanks a lot for your time, and don't be a stranger.
I'll try to be better about coming back and not taking 4-month hiatuses.
All right, sounds good, bud. Appreciate
All
you.
right, thanks for having me on.
Retro Nick Citro there. Let me go ahead and read these comments, and then we'll get out of here for the night because I think I've had enough of you, and you've had enough of me. Do you all think Shady will be able to give up KC schemes? That would be certainly a point. You would think maybe they would use that. We'll see. And then Tim also says, Rick, we talked about this the other night. It's not play action. It's been play no action. Good stuff, Tim. So we'll wrap it up here. Again, join us on Sunday for the evolution of Sports Talk Television and join the 67,000 following we have here on Facebook, of course, live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and that Bucs Report Twitch channel, which we need to get the views up. We'll be here at 2 o'clock, getting you ready for Bucs versus the Chiefs here live on Bucs Report. Of course, the sports web powered by 320solar.com. Do 3 things for me early on this Saturday morning. Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake. We'll see you on Sunday for the evolution of Sports Talk Television, the sports web, live on Bucs Report, powered by 320solar.com. Have a good weekend. Evolution. Sports Talk Television live here nightly. All Bucs Report. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about on tonight's show. Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. Will you shut up and be quiet?
Going solar with 320 may cost you nothing down, but the work we do is not a $0 job. With a 10-year roof penetration warranty and solar panels guaranteed for 25 years, you can have peace of mind knowing we will do the job right every time without question. .320 Solar. Power up.
Just because I let it slide doesn't mean it isn't pulling on my heart until it's almost white. 'Cause I wanna let you feel strong.